Town, South Africa.
Yeah, that's pretty good. A lot of times I'll drop this one down my base station here. I'll take it and I'll drop it down to about 20 watts on it sometimes, and I'll do a little bit of QRP contacts. But the interesting part is I've got a 15 element beam up there. It's about 180 foot in the air, and it's a 10 through, well, I think it's a 10 through 40, if I'm not mistaken. And the other day I was out in the middle of a field that a friend of mine loaned me his place, and I throwed up a wire, shot it up in the air with an arrow, and had a tuner to it and hooked up. And I made about 35 contacts on 40 meter, and about 6 of them on 20 meter, and I wasn't even putting out but 10 watts of power.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun, actually. It does. Yeah, I don't see myself building any high power thing out of here. But yeah, it's so interesting. Well, this is all new to me, and I'm just having a blast. I'm in kindergarten all over again, and in the ham world. Not that I ever got out of it, but this is a lot of fun. So I'll just have fun inventing something.
You know, I was sitting there counting up something the other day that was really interesting. And I got about probably 20 or 25 books of where I have made contacts all over the world. And I decided to check them out just for the heck of it. And since I've been an amateur since 1970, I have made close to 26,000 contacts, and out of all of them, only 4 of them were actually contacted twice. So that's some pretty good record.
85 FPC.
Be sure and put the quarter in the slot and let it go ding ding and then take off.
85 FPC, I put 2 quarters in the slot, and so does that mean I have double time?
You're 50 cents. Start yakking.
Well, I turned my radio down after the QSO ended, and I heard the station you were talking about being back in kindergarten again, and kind of learn everything else again, and that's kind of the world that I live in, and that's kind of where I thrive, is learning something new about something else. And then whenever I kind of get all up in wings level and cruise flight, and I kind of get bored, and then I kind of want to go on and do something else. And I'm kind of at that point in my ham radio career after a couple of years of kind of wings level cruise flight, and now I'm studying for my general class license. So that's kind of the way ham radio is. It's always kind of tweaking and making adjustments for whatever else you want to do. 85 FCC.
Okay, now wait a minute. You got 35 cents more, and we don't make change.
Okay, well, I'm sitting here looking at 2 power supplies. I've got a 10 watt and a 5 watt power supply, and when I'm coming into the repeater, I'm actually on low power now, but when I come into the repeater, I'm only pulling 2.5 amps, and I've got a 10 amp and a 7.5 amp power supply. But if I get too long-winded, my power supply cuts out, and I can't quite figure that out. And I think I've got about a dime left. Is that right?
W5FC.
A nickel.
Okay, a nickel. I'll make it quick. I've got a quad band radio, and I was trying to hail a few other stations on the 6 meter, and couldn't, the 6 meter, 52 megahertz, and couldn't quite do it earlier this afternoon. So I don't know if it's a radio issue or an antenna issue or exactly what it is, But for the other station you're talking to, it's a really cool hobby to get to talk to people around the world, especially if you get into the low band or the IRLP stuff. This is KD5 FPC, and I think my 50 cents is up.
Yeah, you can just see it now. It's like being on you got to make a pay toll, and it says, you need to deposit 50 more cents to continue your conversation. I remember when I was in the military, you used to get on the phone overseas, and that would do that to you. I'm going to tell you a little secret, sweetheart. HF is a whole new world. You think this is something right here. Wait till you get into HF. You just opened up a new door for a whole bunch of more learning.
You know, I know that. I feel that way. It's I can't wait. It's really fun to be totally new at something. Yeah, this is going to be fun. So RWK, the Richardson Wireless Club, is going to loan me a radio and loan me an antenna. I think it's an end-fed something or other, and just to get started. And on field day, they're going to show me how to use it. So I'm going to go over there in the morning, and wow. So yeah, I get to borrow a radio and everything, and figure out stuff before I go out and spend money. Back to you.
Well, I tell you, when you go to HF, you're going to start jumping up and down and hollering, making these long-distance conversations. I will tell you this much. When I got my extra, I went from a novice all the way up to an extra, and then I did my 25-word-a-minute code. I was so happy that the first contact I made was an island out south of Africa, and I thought I was in hog heaven. And then all of a sudden it was a new world that I just learned, and I just could not wear it out. And then Mike Chinden, AE5IV, got me hooked into D-Star, and now I've got another world I'm trying to learn.
Yeah, that other station, is it, yeah, where did I write it down? Wow, I wrote too many things on this page. Was it the last three, FCC, Foxtrot, Charlie, Charlie?
Close enough. Kilo Delta 5, Fox Papa Charlie. I don't care what you call me, as long as you don't call me late for dinner. And I'm kind of disappointed. Gary called you sweetheart. I thought I was his sweetheart, but that's beside the point. Go ahead. 85 FCC.
Well, I'm not going there. Hey, Fox Delta Charlie. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, that's very nice. I don't even know what I was going to say. Yeah, this is all a lot of fun, and yeah, I've gone back and forth. Should I build my own, just totally from scratch? I'm kind of leaning that direction, and or just buy it and get it, go drive to HRO and go get it. But either way, I've still got to shoot it over a limb somehow and pull it up, and then get I guess I need a mast, and I'm gonna figure that out, and anyway, it'll be fun. But I don't have a radio yet, so it doesn't matter.
Well, if you go to QRZ and check out my page,
Mr. Chairman, I need to make
I think I've got pictures of my antenna I put up.
Skynet.
If not, I'll put them up here.
You'll be in control of Skynet, right?
I live in a subdivision.
That is correct.
I've got a wideband antenna on my roof. I kind of made a little Delta antenna that I spent about $8 at Ace Hardware out of 3/4 PVC pipe that I put up on my roof for my antenna mount. And so, if you want to get into it, it's a fair warning. It's an expensive hobby to get into. Pause for reset. because every time you buy something new, you'll look out and go, oh, look at that. I want that. And then you'll buy something new. And then you'll get that, and you'll get it set up and running, and then you'll look out and you'll go, oh, look at that. I want that. And then you'll buy something else new. I think I'm kind of up cruise flight, wings level, as far as what I'm doing right now. I've got 2 power supplies and a whole box of ham radio stuff, and a couple of mobile radios, and a base station, and 4 or 5 handhelds, and a antenna on my roof that I hope I don't get hit by lightning. But it's a really cool hobby, and you can talk to folks from around the world, especially like Gary said, if you get on the IRLP with the digital radio stuff, and it's a really cool thing to get into. KD5 FCC.
Break, WB5OZL.
We're clear, Brenda, go ahead. We're all clear. Kev, clear, AF5TX, we're all clear.
Alrighty, it is time for the 9 p.m. Skynet. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin? This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima. My name is Brenda, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without directions from net control, me, and stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5 FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. This net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. 1. General announcements. 2. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. 3. National Space Society events. 4. Discussion topic of the evening. 5. Space exploration and space history. 6. Was Up. 7. Space launches of the week. 8. Recent astronomical discoveries. 9. Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days. 10. Astronomical Q&A, and 11. 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. So, let's start with low power and short time. Please give us your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're located. Please come now.
Good evening from Kilo Delta 5, Fox Papa Charlie, short time.
November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William in Allen, short time, N5WI.
Okay, the first check-in, I believe, was Kilo Delta 5, Foxtrot Papa Charlie. Can I get your name, please?
My apologies, ma'am. Kilo Delta 5, Foxtrot Papa Charlie, Cody in Princeton. Go ahead.
sorry, did you say Tony?
Yes, ma'am. Cody, Charlie, Oscar, Delta, Yankee from Kilo Delta 5, Fox, Papa, Charlie.
Very good. Then we had November 5, Whiskey, Oscar, India, William, also short time. Okay, can we do regular check-ins now? Please come.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving.
Kilo India 5, Gulf Romeo Hotel, Melissa in Dallas.
November Foxtrot 4, United, Jeff in McKinney.
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Quebec Delta, Quebec, Eric in Garland.
Kilo 5, Alpha November Papa, Alan in Dallas.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima Bill, Farmers Branch.
Whiskey 5, Lima Hotel Juliet, Don, Bueno.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David, St. Paul, Texas. Kilo Golf 5, Papa Hotel, John, Plano, KG5, PPH.
Alpha Golf 5, Papa Mike Rich in Rockwall, AG5 PM. Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom, Louisville.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz Mesquite.
Kilo Alpha 6, Echo Tango Sierra, Phil, Mesquite.
This is Whiskey Bravo number 4, Mike Foxtrot India, WB4MFI, Ted Dallas Lobauer.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Frisco.
Okay, that's a good, healthy batch. So let's get started. I'm going to need some fills on 2 or 3 of these. I have November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill. Kilo India 5, Golf Romeo Hotel, Melissa. November Foxtrot 4, Uniform, Jeff. Did I get your call right, Jeff?
Yeah, QSL, Nancy Fox 4, United.
All right, then I got Kilo 5, Golf Lima Papa, or Delta. I can't read my writing, and I didn't get your name. Would you please clarify?
Kilo 5, Golf Lima Delta, Randy Rowlett, K5GLD.
Okay, K5JLD, Randy. And then the next one, the name is Robert, and I missed your call.
That's Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson.
All right, AA5AH. Then we have KF5QDQ, Eric. And then the next one, Alan, I think Mr. Prefix. I think you're, if you'd come back with your call.
Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa, Alan.
Okay, Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa. Then we have KF5ZBL Bill, W5LHJ Don, KG5EIU David, KG5PPH John, AG5PM Rich, KE5ICX Tom, KF5JHA Chaz, I think it's KA6ETS Phil, WB4MFI Ted, and K5JDW John. All right, do we have any more check-ins?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Okay, we have KG5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James. Let's go to Echo Link now. I'll give you a couple extra seconds.
T0, Mike, Bravo, Charlie, / Alpha Echo, Shane, Blue Springs.
Miss Bethany. Hi, Skynet.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo, Zulu, Whiskey, Jay, near Weatherford.
All right, we've got K0, MBC, Shane, and Bethany, and KG5BZWJ. Do we have any other check-ins of any kind?
Kilo Delta 5, Foxtrot Papa Charlie.
And KD5FPC, did you check in the beginning, Cody?
I did, ma'am, but I did not hear my call sign on the readback. 85 FPC.
Sorry, you were first on the list, but I'll make sure you're listed. Anybody else want to check in?
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Mike Golf, Joe in Arlington.
G5QXI, Glens and Rockwall.
Okay, we got KG5 ZMG Joe, and Glenn, I missed your prefix. Would you repeat it, please?
So Golf 5, Quebec, X-Ray, India, Glens and Rockwall.
Got Bye.
Net control, you had a double, 85 FCC.
Would you please come back with the whole call and the name, please? Okay, I think it's KG5 FEC and the name is Glenn. Please correct me if that's wrong. All right, well, let's get started. We can have more check-ins later. So, do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? Those can be ham, astronomical space, or of general interest to licensed hams.
KE5ICX.
KE5ICX, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Brenda, just to remind everyone, of course, field day is 1 week from today. So a lot of clubs are practicing social distancing and will be working as a single station with a single operator from home. There are some Field Day 2020 best practices that are available on the w5fc.org website, explaining how you can best work in that environment, as well as some prizes that you can, or not prizes, but certificates you can get for turning in your points for the DARC, and some individual things that will be awarded to anybody who participates. It's pretty cool. It also includes a second article that was posted a few weeks ago on Field Day 2020 and just some general information about it, and of course the COVID-19 issue. So by all means go there. You'll find the information for Field Day, which begins exactly 7 days from today. Back to you, KE5I6.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, the AMSAT radio, it's a radio amateur satellite group, has 2 nets available to Dallas residents. On Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central, you'll need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website. It's amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston. Dallas AMSAT net in Dallas-Fort Worth is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.14 megahertz PL 110.9 megahertz positive offset. I'd like to mention we have a number of nets throughout the week. I think we'll skip those. You can certainly go on our website and find out information about that. All right, we have another net after this at 10:30, what we call the Afterglow net. It is a movie discussion net, almost always a science fiction movie. And I'm going to turn it over now to Tom, KE5ICX, to tell us about tonight's movie. Tom?
I'm sure I'm going to get an Academy Award for this someday. Okay, here's this synopsis of tonight's movie, which we'll be talking about at 10:30. Kirk looked at the Klingon bird of prey and stuffed his body into the chair. He thought, that's kind of a bit of a tight fit. He looked at the command chair arm and saw a mound of Klingon cigarette butts overflowing. and some sort of bluish-colored blob thing next to it, which he didn't want to know where it originated or how it got there. He turned and looked at his motley crew and asked them, "Does this Klingon bird of prey make me look fat?" They all turned away and busily started pushing buttons. He had his answer, and it wasn't what he wanted to hear. So join us tonight. Very popular movie. The Afterglow movie tonight will be Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home from 1986, actually. Tonight at 10:30 p.m. That's it for me, KE5ICX.
Alrighty, that's the best of the lot. No, yeah, hands down. Alright, the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Does anybody have a report on that?
KF5JHA.
KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Thank you, Brenda. Good evening, everyone. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas will have its next meeting in 6 days on June the 26th. It will be another virtual club meeting using Zoom. We have a great featured speaker, Don Pettit, a NASA astronaut. He will be our featured speaker. Don Pettit was actually interviewed on Skynet 5 years ago by Kelly, K5KTX, with Billy, KF5PDS, sitting right beside him, and Don Pettit, the astronaut. He's a ham radio operator, KD5MDT. And there's an amateur radio sitting on board the ISS. And if someone, one of them that's an amateur radio operator wants to pick it up and transmit, there's a lot of responses back from planet Earth up to the ISS. Anyway, the interview that we did on Skynet 5 years ago is actually posted on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. But if you search Don Pettit interview, Skynet, March 21, 2015, you should be able to find that interview. It's really a cool thing to do. By the way, the Texas Astronomical Society club meeting won't have a problem with parking since it's going to be online. Hopefully we'll resume face-to-face meetings sometime, and the task will maybe have public observing sessions after all this shelter-in-place is over. Check their website, texasastro.org, for details. And unless anybody has any questions, it's back to you, Brenda. KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz. Next up, National Space Society events and activities. November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill, do you have anything?
Oh, a little bit, Brenda. This is N5BB. I am the membership director of the North Texas chapter of the National Space Society. Our last meeting was last Sunday, June the 14th, because of the need to do things virtually. We held it on my WebEx account, and Robert Reeves of San Antonio, who is a well-known moon photographer, actually he's a general astrophotographer, but especially the moon. He gave a virtual presentation showing his moon shots, describing how different areas of the moon were created when the moon formed and when other objects hit the moon. And it was a lot of just general information about the moon itself. So that was fun. As far as other things, we can't go to museums and schools and things because in general they're not open. So we don't have any other scheduled events right now. However, I have one other thing which is not directly related but might interest people. This is, if you go to the following URL, computerhistory.org. That's computerhistory.org. That's the website of the Computer History Museum, which is located in Mountain View, California. My brother lives there in that city, and I'm a member of that museum. They have an event coming up Wednesday of this week that might interest listeners. It will be at 1 o'clock local time here, 11 o'clock in California. So that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday, June the 24th. It's a discussion with excuse me, let me get back to where I was doing it here. With Catherine, just a moment. I've lost my chain of thought. This was with the former astronaut Catherine Sullivan. Catherine Sullivan. So she was the first woman American astronaut to do an EVA, extravehicle spacewalk. Then a few years later, she was on the mission that deployed the Hubble Space Telescope. And earlier this month, she was the first woman to go down to the deepest part of the ocean on a submersible. So she's the only woman to have been in space and down to the deep trench, the deepest, I think it's the Challenger Trench, the deepest trench in the ocean. So she'll be giving a talk about maintenance and invention, lessons from Hubble. So that should be interesting. If you want to attend this session Wednesday afternoon at 1, you need to go to the website I mentioned and sign up there. You need to sign up in advance. That's all I've got in 5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Do we have any additional check-ins? Please come now.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman. I also have an announcement.
Okay, we recognize KF5 PDS. Billy, please go ahead with your announcement.
Brenda, good evening to all on the net. Earlier today on Facebook, there's a website, a Facebook page called English Heritage, and you can watch the summer solstice sunrise live from Stonehenge. They did the sunset earlier this afternoon because, you know, in Great Britain they are 6 hours ahead of us. So they did a live webcam. They had the camera on Stonehenge right where the sun would come down through the stones. It was really cool to watch. It was kind of cloudy, so you really couldn't see the sun itself, but you could tell where the light was tracking. It was really cool to see. So tonight, I believe it's around 10:42 p.m. our time. It's 4:42 a.m. their time. They will be showing the sunrise live from Stonehenge. Again, that Facebook page is called English Heritage, and make sure you go to the one that's got the blue check mark next to their name. They were warning against other pages that would make you, want you to pay for things. They don't charge you for it. It's free. So make sure you go to the page that says English Heritage and has the blue check mark next to their name. And if you follow the page, you'll get an announcement when they go live, and they go live about 30 minutes before the actual event. So just something to watch for tonight. If you're staying up that late and want to watch that, it's going to be really cool to see. I would probably go out to the website about 10:30 p.m. tonight, and then just stay tuned because they will have a camera on Stonehenge, and you can watch the sunrise in England through the stones. So just wanted to bring that to the net. So thank you for letting me give the announcement, and I'll return to you. This is KFI's PDS. Back to net.
Thank you, Billy. That is fascinating. Stonehenge is on my bucket list, but who knows? All right. Go ahead into our feature now. We're going to talk about the next Mars rover. Its name is Perseverance. It will be launching next month, and you can watch it, which is pretty cool. I don't know the exact date, and I'm not sure they do either. But anyway, I'm sure you'll see that listed on the internet. So, Perseverance is our most advanced Mars rover yet. It's scheduled to leave Earth for its 7-month journey to the red planet this summer. Only the 5th NASA rover destined for Mars, Perseverance, is designed to build on the work and scientific discoveries of its predecessors. It may look similar to Curiosity, a NASA rover that's been exploring Mars since 2012 and the only one that's still operational. But the latest rover's new science instruments, upgraded cameras, improved onboard computers, and new landing technologies make it uniquely capable of accomplishing the science goals planned for the mission. The first of the rover's 4 science goals deals with studying the habitability of Mars. The mission is designed to look for environments that could have supported life in the past. It will land in Jezero Crater, a 28-mile-wide crater that scientists believe was once filled with water. Data from orbiters at the red planet suggests that water once flowed into the crater, carrying clay minerals from the surrounding area, depositing them in the crater and forming a delta. We find similar conditions on Earth where the right combination of water and minerals can support life. By comparing these to the conditions we find on Mars, we can better understand the red planet's ability to support life. The Perseverance rover is specifically designed to study the habitability of Mars's Jezero crater using a suite of scientific instruments or tools that can evaluate the environment and the process that influence it. The second science goal is closely linked with the first. It will seek out evidence that microbial life once existed on Mars in the past. In doing so, the mission could make progress in understanding the origin, evolution, and distribution of life in the universe, the scientific field known as astrobiology. It's important to note that the rover won't be looking for present-day life. Instead, its instruments are designed to look for clues left behind by ancient life. We call those clues biosignatures. A biosignature might be a pattern, object, or substance that was created by life in the past and can be identified by certain properties such as chemical composition, mineralogy, or structure. To better understand if a possible biosignature is really a clue left behind by ancient life, we need to look for biosignatures and study the habitability of the environment. Discovering that an environment is habitable does not automatically mean life existed there, and some geological processes can leave behind biosignature-like signs in non-habitable environments. Third goal is to gather samples of Martian rocks and soil. The rover will leave the samples on Mars for future missions, could collect them and bring them back to Earth for further study. Scientists can learn a lot about Mars with a rover like Perseverance that can take in situ measurements. By examining samples from Mars in full-size laboratories on Earth, it can provide far more information about whether life ever existed on Mars than studying them on the Martian surface. Perseverance will take the first step toward making a future sample return possible. The rover is equipped with special Corning drill bits that will collect scientifically interesting samples similar in size to a piece of chalk. Each sample will be capped and sealed in individual collection tubes. Tubes will be stored aboard the rover until the mission team determines the best strategic locations on the planet's surface to leave them. The collection tubes will stay on the Martian surface until a potential future campaign collects them for return to Earth. NASA and the European Space Agency are solidifying concepts for the missions that will complete this campaign. And it's going to be preparing for future astronauts, like the robotic spacecraft that landed on the moon to prepare for the Apollo astronauts. The Perseverance rover's fourth science goal will help pave the way for humans to eventually visit Mars. Before humans can set foot on the red planet, we need to know more about the conditions there and demonstrate that technologies needed for returning to Earth and survival will work. That's where a MOXIE comes in, short for Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. MOXIE is designed to separate oxygen from carbon dioxide in Mars's atmosphere. The atmosphere that surrounds the red planet is 96% CO2, but there's very little oxygen, only 0.13%, compared with the 21% in Earth's atmosphere. Oxygen is a crucial ingredient in rocket fuel and is essential for human survival. MOXIE could show how similar systems sent to Mars ahead of astronauts could generate rocket fuel to bring astronauts back to Earth and even create oxygen for breathing. And this is my favorite, flying the first Mars helicopter. Joining the Perseverance rover on Mars is the first helicopter designed to fly on another planet. Dubbed Ingenuity, the Mars helicopter is a technology demonstration that will be the first test of powered flight on another planet. The lightweight helicopter rides to Mars attached to the belly of the rover. After Perseverance is on Mars, the helicopter will be released from the rover and will attempt up to 5 test flights in the thin atmosphere of Mars. After a successful first attempt at lifting off, hovering a few feet above the ground for 20 to 30 seconds, and landing, the operations team can attempt incrementally higher and longer distance flights. Ingenuity is designed to fly for up to 90 seconds, reach an altitude of 15 feet, and travel a distance of nearly 980 feet. Sending commands to the helicopter and receiving information about the flights relayed through the rover, the helicopter team hopes to collect valuable test data about how the vehicle performs in Mars' thin atmosphere. The results of the Mars helicopter test flights will help inform the development of future vehicles that can one day explore Mars from the air. Once Ingenuity has completed its technology demonstration, Perseverance will continue its mission on the surface of the red planet. Before any of that can happen, the Perseverance Mars rover needs to successfully lift off from Earth and begin its journey to the red planet. Here's how the launch is designed to ensure that the spacecraft and Mars are at the same place on landing day. About every 26 months, Mars and Earth are at points in their orbits around the Sun that allow us to launch a spacecraft to Mars most efficiently. This span of time, called a launch period, lasts several weeks. For Perseverance, the launch period is targeted to begin at 6:15 a.m. PDT on July 20th and end on August 11th. Each day there's a launch window lasting about 2 hours. If all conditions are good, we have liftoff. If there's a little too much wind or other inclement weather, or perhaps engineers want to take a look at something on the rocket during the window, the countdown can be paused and teams will try again the next day. Regardless of when Perseverance launches during this, rover will land on Mars on February 18th, 2021 at around 12:30 PST. Engineers can maintain this fixed landing date because when the rover launches, it will go into what's called a parking orbit around Earth. Depending on when the launch happens, the rover will coast in the temporary parking orbit for 24 to 36 minutes. Then the upper stage of the rocket will ignite for about 7 minutes, giving the spacecraft the velocity it needs to reach Mars. Like the Curiosity rover, Perseverance will launch from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida on an Atlas V 541 rocket, one of the most powerful rockets available for interplanetary spacecraft. All right, does anybody need any fills? Okay, do we have any more check-ins? All right, next on the list, space exploration and space history. KE5 ICX, Tom, will do this section tonight. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Miss Brenda, and this is KE5ICX. Oh boy, I got a lot of stuff. Hopefully I can keep it down. I may have to skip a few things. There's a lot going on. In space exploration news, Kathy Luters, NASA's first female space flight chief, will guide a U.S. return to the moon. Luters, who until now led NASA's commercial crew program, will take the helm of the all-crewed spaceflight activities at NASA as the Associate Administrator for the agency's Human Exploration Operations Mission Directorate. The promotion, which NASA announced on June 12th, came about 2 weeks after Doug Lover resigned from the position. Brenda, you touched on this next one. I'll just give a real quick thing here. NASA is ready to take its first spin at flying a helicopter on another world as the agency's Mars helicopter Ingenuity prepares for launch in July. The helicopter is part of Mars' 2020 mission, the star of which is the Perseverance Rover, the robot designed to help scientists determine whether life on the red planet has ever been possible. Ingenuity isn't the core tool for that objective, but it's hitching a ride with the rover to test NASA's ability to fly on another world. I'm going to jump on down to space-related birthdays. We have birthday of Dr. Taylor Gongjin Wang. He's originally from China. He's an American physicist, payload specialist, astronaut from 1983 to 1985. His first space flight was 7 days in space and flew on STS-51B in 1985. And he was born in 1940. Forgot to mention that. In 1954 signaled the birth of Jeffrey Shears Bones Ashby. He's from the United States. He was an American test pilot astronaut from 1994 to 2008. Grew up in Evergreen, California, and flew 33 combat missions in Desert Storm. He had 3 space flights totaling 27.7 days in space, flew to orbit on STS-93 in 1999, STS-100, and STS-112. Now, June 17th marked the death of John Whiteside Jack Parsons, quite an interesting person. He was an American rocket pioneer, co-founder of Aerojet, which is just about every booster or second stage uses an Aerojet engine, the inventor of the solid rocket propellant, an American inventor of the storable liquid rocket. He dabbled in the occult, expelled from Aerojet on Department of Defense orders. He was killed mixing rocket fuel in his garage. In 1937, on June 18th, marks the birth of Vitaly Mikhailovich Solovov. You try and say that. He's from the Ukraine. He was an engineer cosmonaut from 1963 to 81. He had 1 space flight of 49 days in space, flew on orbit in Soyuz 21 in 1976. Now on to events. We have on June 14, 1963, a Vostok 5 launch. This was a joint mission with Soviet Space Program together with Vostok 6, which I'll mention a little bit. As with the previous pair of Vostok 3 and 4, 2 Vostok spacecraft came close to one another in orbit and established a radio link. Cosmonaut Valery Baikalsky was originally intended to stay in orbit for 8 days, but the mission changed many times due to elevated levels of solar flare activity at the time, and eventually was ordered back after 5 days. This remains the record for solo crewed flight in Earth orbit, in addition to low orbit orbit of the spacecraft made uncertain as to whether decay would not occur in under 8 days. This, combined with solar flare activity affecting the diameter of the Earth's atmosphere, might potentially introduce drag that could not only cause premature re-entry, but result in Vostok 5 landing almost anywhere on Earth. In 1967, on the same date, we had the Mariner 5 launch. It was launched from Launch Complex 12 in Cape Canaveral on an Atlas booster with an Agena D upper stage. By the way, the Agena D uses an Aerojet engine. The Mariner 5 flew by Venus on October 9th, 1967 at an altitude of 4,000 kilometers. With more sensitive instruments than its predecessor Mariner 2, Mariner 5 was able to shed new light on the hot, cloud-covered planet and on conditions in interplanetary space. Operations of Mariner 5 ended on November in 1967. The spacecraft's instruments measured both interplanetary and Venusian magnetic fields, charged particles and plasmas, as well as radio reflectometry and UV emissions from the Venusian atmosphere. In 1975, on the same date, the Venera 11 was launched from Baikonur Launch Complex 8124 using a Proton heavy lift rocket. The orbiter spacecraft entered Venus orbit and was separated from the lander on October 23rd of 75. The lander touched down with the sun near zenith at 5:17 Greenwich Mean Time on October 25th. A system of circulating fluid was used to distribute the heat load. This system, plus pre-cooling prior to re-entry, permitted operation of the spacecraft for 65 minutes after landing. During descent, heat dissipation and deceleration were accomplished sequentially by protective hemispheric shells, 3 parachutes, a disc-shaped drag brake, and a compressible metal donut-shaped landing cushion. The landing was about 2,200 kilometers distant from Venera 9. On June 15, 1971, was the first launch of the Titan 3D space booster. This was from Vandenberg Air Force Base. The 3D was a Titan 3C with a trans-stage removed, as it was designed for heavy, low Earth orbit payloads, and mostly that would be keyhole PHI satellites. In 1979, on the date, launch of Soyuz 29 from Baikonur Launch Complex 1 using an R-77. That's the Soyuz rocket. Soyuz 29 was a 1978 crewed Soviet space mission to the Salyut 6 space station. It was the 5th mission and the 4th successful docking, and the 2nd long-duration crew for the orbiting station, with Commander Vladimir Kovalyuk and flight engineer Alexander Ivanchenkov, you try and say these things, established a new space endurance record of 139 days. The crew returned in Soyuz 31, which had been swapped by the crew, launched in August, and remained in Soyuz 29. Next one should be of interest. In 1988, on the same date, Oscar 13 launched. AMSAT Oscar 13 was launched by the first test flight of the Ariane 4 launcher. The AO-13 was the third in a series of Phase 3 type high-altitude elliptical orbit amateur communication satellites. It was built by an international team of radio amateurs by Karl Minzer of AMSAT Germany. It carried 4 beacon transmitters and 4 linear transponders. AO-13 also contained a digital communications transponder called RUDAC-1. However, attempts to get the experiment operating failed. Operational lifespan was 8 years. Careful analysis of AO-13's orbit in early 1980 revealed that the resonant perturbations exist that lead the satellite into a negative perigee altitude. The perigee was down to 150 kilometers in August of 1996 and drastically increased at atmospheric drag. Yeah, we went into this earlier. And so it re-entered the Earth's atmosphere December 5th, 1996. Let's see here. Let me go down a little bit. Well, I got a couple more here. Let me do these. 1963, launch of Vostok 6 at Baikonur Launch Complex 1. And that was call sign Chaika, or Seagull. I had a crew of Chirinskova. There's one person. Now get this. This is joint flight with Vostok 5, first woman in space and the only Russian woman to go into orbit until Svetlana Savitskaya 19 years later. It's the first flight. Orbit of Vostok 6 came within about 5 kilometers of Vostok 5, the closest distance achieved during the flight, and established radio contact. Flight operations objectives included comparative analysis of the effect of various spaceflight factors on the male and female organisms, medical, biological research, further elaboration and improvement of spaceship systems under conditions of joint flight. It was Korolov's idea just after Gagarin's flight to put a woman in space as yet another novelty. Khrushchev made a final crew selection. Korolev was unhappy with Tereskova's performance in orbit, and she was not permitted to take manual control of the spacecraft as had been planned. And then finally, in 2012, on the same date, the launch of Shenzhou 9 for Jiuquan SLS. That's in China, in case you're wondering. First docking of a manned Shenzhou spacecraft with the Tiangong Space Laboratory. The crew was commanded by Jing Haipeng, who flew on Shenzhou 7 with rookies Lu Wang and Lu Yang. Wang and Yang, the first women to fly to a Chinese space in a Chinese space crew. Let's see here. At about 1440 Greenwich Mean Time on June 17th, the ship maneuvered from, well, these is getting technical here, into the orbit of the Tiangong space station and docked with the Tiangong-1 space hatch. The 3 astronauts opened the TG-1 hatch and entered the lab for the first time. Shenzhou 9 crew undocked from Tiangong-1 on June 24th and backed off to 300 meters, and reapproached first to 140 meters, and then manually controlled redocking carried out by Lu Wang at 4:49 GMT time. On the 28th, Shenzhou 9 undocked again for the last time, and a brief manual re-rendezvous to 140 meters was carried out. Return to Earth came on June 29th with an orbital module separation at 1:16 GMT, retrofire, and service module separation and landing in Szwangui, a district of Yunnan. Oh boy. That's in Inner Mongolia, if you must know. In the future, I have no intention of, well, I should probably figure out how to say these things phonetically, but who knows. Okay, that's it from me. My tongue twisters are over. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. Do we have any more check-ins? All right, let's go on to our next segment, which is What's Up? This is brought to us by Chaz, KF5JHA. Go ahead, Chaz.
Well, thank you, Brenda. That introduction almost sounded like a sponsorship or something. Yeah. Good evening. Yeah, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree's in astrophysics. I am the astrophysics lab manager at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet What's Up. I'll also be doing Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week segment as well. But first, let's get to What's Up. The moon was at its third quarter phase on June the 13th, so the current phase of the moon is a waning crescent. It won't be waning crescent very long because tomorrow the moon is at its new phase on June 21st. This new moon will cause an annular solar eclipse tomorrow. Actually, it's occurring, I think, right about now across eastern Africa, India, Southeast Asia. That's where you'd have to go to see it. We won't be able to see that. An annular eclipse doesn't mean it happens every year. That means an annulus, a ring of the sun around the moon trying to cover it up. The moon is far enough away from the Earth that it can't quite cover up the sun. Okay, the moon will be at its first quarter phase on June the 28th, and the moon will be full on July the 4th. The planet Mercury will go through its inferior conjunction of the sun on June the 30th. What does that mean? That means that Mercury is still in the evening sky. Maybe you might not be able to see it. It's really close to the sun. But we'll be moving into the morning sky at the end of June. Yesterday morning on June 19th, if you were awakened early, you could have observed the moon and Venus in conjunction in the Hyades star cluster. Remember, the Hyades star cluster is the face of Taurus the Bull. If you missed that opportunity, I'll tell you about another one in just a moment. On June 23rd, in the evening sky, the thin crescent moon will be passing by the Beehive star cluster in the constellation of Cancer the Crab. This will be a great astrophotographic opportunity. Is that a word? Astrophotographic? Yeah, I think so. The day after Independence Day on July the 5th, look in the southeastern sky around 11 p.m. to find a trio of objects. The brightest will be the moon. Above the moon is Jupiter. To the left of the moon is Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn are getting closer and closer to each other in the sky. On the evening of, well, 2 evenings, December the 20th and 21st at twilight, Jupiter and Saturn will be so close that they will appear as a single object to the unaided eye. In telescopes, you will see Jupiter and Saturn in the same field of view. Of course, Jupiter and Saturn are not close to each other in outer space. They'll be more than 300 million miles apart. On July the 8th, get up early and look toward the east. Venus will be inside the Hyades star cluster. Oh, I told you about this, didn't I, earlier? Remember, the Hyades star cluster is the face of Taurus the Bull. This is the second time in a month that Venus has passed through the Hyades. It all has to do with the motions of the Earth and Venus. Two meteor showers in June can be watched. The June Lyrid peaked this past week on the night of June the 16th, 17th. The June Lyrid meteor shower has only been observed a few times since 1966. It may have produced a few dozen meteors per hour. It might not have produced any meteors. I haven't seen the reports yet about the Lyrid meteor shower for this year. The second meteor shower in June is called the June Boötes, which peak on the night of June 26-27. That's a week from now. Once again, it varies in intensity from maybe 0 meteors to up to more than 100 meteors per hour. And that ends What's Up segment. And now, let's begin with Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. My call sign is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, which is named in honor of a silent key, Carolyn, KC5OZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning, from 2012 until May of last year, with a detailed look of one particular constellation each week. Since there are about 52 constellations out of the 88 constellations easily visible in Texas throughout the year, Carolyn covered the entire sky in a year. In her honor, we have continued the tradition of constellation per week. Miss Carolyn's constellation of this week is Libra. The constellation of Libra is a scale or balance. Yeah, I did an email earlier, I think it was yesterday, about working for scale tonight. But of course, all of you know, I'm not well balanced anyway. Libra is a zodiacal constellation and is the only member of the zodiac that depicts an inanimate object. The rest, must be animated. The ancient Greeks did not recognize Libra. Instead, it has its stars representing the claws of the ancient Scorpius. Other cultures, including the ancient Romans, Egyptians, Hebrews, and Indians, recognized Libra as a balance. The concept of a balanced scale in the sky originates from the equal lengths of day and night at the equinox. 2,000 years ago, September equinox was in now what is called Libra. So the stars that are in that part of the sky came to be associated with the balanced scales. Due to the precession of the equinox, when the sun is in September equinox today, it's in the constellation of Virgo, and we've talked about Virgo recently. Okay, here's why I really like this constellation. It's because of a couple of stars. Zubanel Ganubi is also known as Alpha Libra, is the brightest star in the constellation of Libra at magnitude 2.0. Lies very close to the ecliptic. Zubanel Ganubi, say that 3 times in a row, is Arabic for southern claw. The names of these stars date back to the time when the stars were actually in Libra, were part of the Scorpius. Ah, the Scorpion. Zubanel Ganubi is a double star, and it's very easily split in a telescope. It's easy to split in a common pair of 6x30 well-finder scope. Despite the wide separation, the two stars share the same proper motion and are believed to be a true physical pair, not just an accidental alignment. Zubanel Shamali is also known as Beta Libra. Shines at a magnitude of 2.59. That name means the northern claw. Using an 8-inch telescope at low magnification, Zubanel Shamali is nicely framed in a triangle of fainter stars, all 3 of which are similar in brightness. The star itself, Zubanel Shamali, looks white in color. The next object is NGC 5897. Now, NGC stands for New General Catalog, and it's a globular cluster, also known as the Ghost Globular Cluster because of how faint it is. In their book, The Night Sky Observer's Guide, George Keppel and Glenn Sander note that an 8 to 10-inch scope, this globular cluster is diffuse, low surface brightness halo with poorly concentrated center. A few dozen stars may be glimpsed with averted vision. With a 16 to 18-inch scope, they note that the cluster resolves well. This globular cluster is very faint. It needs more aperture than an 8-inch telescope usually can produce for you. It can barely be resolving a few of the brighter members of the cluster in an 8-inch telescope. And averted vision helps. We talked about averted vision a couple weeks ago. Otherwise, this is just a faint, fuzzy glow. The next object is PK 342 plus 27.1. It's a planetary. As a planetary nebula itself, initially at low power, it looks like a fainter member of a double star. And most planetary nebulas look like stars at low power. Increasing magnification says it to be an extended object, albeit a small one. At 120 power at an 8-inch scope, the outer edges of the nebula appear somewhat fuzzy. There is eventually a bit more to see at larger instruments. Keppel and Sander write in their book that I talked about just a little bit ago that in a 16 and 18 telescope at 300 power, the 7 arc-second diameter disk of the nebula is visible, surrounded by a star-like center. NGC 5878 is a spiral galaxy, magnitude 12.5. That's kind of faint for most telescopes. In an 8-inch scope, this galaxy is right at the very limit of what you can see. Averted vision is a must. It will appear as an elongated faint glow, just barely visible. The long axis is aligned the north-south line. Larger telescope will show you more. There's a list of peculiar galaxies called the ARP collection, and ARP 254 is the challenge object for tonight. According to the ARP Atlas of peculiar galaxies, this is a faint galaxy. It has a faint galaxy called MCG 1-39-3, and a very tenuous bridge, presuming of stars, gas, and dust that connects these two objects. So, the ARP 254 and NGC 5917. That's the same object. It's connected to this other object. Close examination of photos taken by a large observatory showed that their interiors of both galaxies appear to have affected each other. Since the system is totally isolated in intergalactic space, the bridge and distribution appearance of the disk suggests that there is a galactic sideswipe of one object by another. And this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. There are several more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Libra. I'm just giving you a sampling of a few of those objects. The Astronomical League has over 60 different observing programs. Most have around 100 objects. If you observe 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate in about a year. And that is Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week. I almost said month because in the Astronomy Club, it's a constellation every month. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for their research on the deep sky objects that I've used tonight. Take a look at another constellation next week, Lepus. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a howling success. If you look it up, you'll figure out what the joke was. Once again, the Texas Astronomical Society will have its meeting on June the 26th, being another virtual club meeting using Zoom. Don Pettit, a famous astronaut, especially for Skynet, will be the featured speaker. He's talking about amateur astronomy on the ISS. And yes, Don Pettit is an amateur radio operator, KD5MDT. If you want to look at the video of the interview that we had with him on Skynet 5 years ago, go to YouTube, search Don Pettit interview Skynet March 21, 2015, and you should be able to find it. If you want to find out more information about the Texas Astronomical Society information, go to texasastro.org website. You can find lots of details there. Hopefully we'll have live observing sometime soon. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need to fill on any information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question. Come now with your call sign if you have a question. Yeah, JJ, I heard the noise on my transmission, too. I don't know what's going on. I do want to welcome the students from Brookhaven College that are listening and watching Skynet tonight. Students, just a reminder, if you want to get stargazing class credit for this, then remember to fill out the form within the next 48 hours. So, as the moon is waning in the middle of June, so do these words: stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. And until next week, keep looking up so you know what's up. Oh, and before I end this, Tom, I think the Afterglow movie is going to be a whale of a movie. This is Chaz, KF5JHA.
you, Chaz. This is WB50ZL. Do we have any new check-ins? Okay, let's move on to space launches for this week. Tom, KE5ICX, it's yours.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. Yep, we got a few. We've got June 22nd, 23rd, right around midnight, Vega SSMS POC launch. This will be from the Colorado French Guiana launch site, and Ariane Space Vega rocket, designated VV-16, will launch on the Small Spacecraft Mission Service, or SSMS, proof of concept mission with around 50 microsatellites, nanosatellites, and CubeSats for commercial and institutional customers. This rideshare launch is the first flight of a multi-payload dispenser funded by the European Space Agency to allow the Vega rocket to deliver numerous small satellites to orbit on a single mission. And if that's not enough, on June 23rd, a Falcon 9 will be launching Starlink 9 Black Sky Global 5 and 6 from Launch Complex 39A, the old moon launch site at Cape Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is expected to launch the 10th batch of approximately 60 satellites for SpaceX's Starlink broadband network and mission designated as Starlink 9. 2 Earth observation microsatellites for the Black Sky Global, a Seattle-based company, will launch as a rideshare payloads on this mission. The next one does not have a date yet. Long March 3B from Benzhou in Xicheng, China. The Long March 3B rocket will launch a satellite for the country's Benzhou navigation network towards geostationary orbit. On June 30th, Falcon 9 GPS-3 SV-03 will launch from Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. That's one of their active ones right next door to Cape Kennedy. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket will launch the U.S. Air Force's third generation navigation satellite for the Global Positioning System. The satellite was built by Lockheed Martin. The Air Force previously planned to launch the second GPS-3 series satellite on this mission. Coming up is the GSLV Mark II GSAT-1. No date yet. This is from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, India. This is also a geosynchronous satellite. It will launch from India's first GEO imaging satellite, or GSAT-1. GSAT-1 spacecraft will provide continuous remote sensing observations over the Indian subcontinent with geostationary orbit more than 22,000 miles above the Earth. July 3rd, the Electron launch of Pix or It Didn't Happen. That's the name of it. The launch time is yet to be determined. This is from Launch Complex 1 from the Hia Peninsula in New Zealand. A Rocket Lab Electron rocket will launch on its 13th flight on a rideshare mission. The Electron rocket will carry the CE-SAT-1B Earth imaging satellite for Canon Electronics and 5 Super Dove Earth observation CubeSats for Planet and Faraday 1 CubeSat for in-space missions. Rocket Lab nicknamed the launch Pix or It Didn't Happen. So there you have it. So bunch of micro and CubeSats going up over the next few days. So That's pretty cool. All right, back to you, Miss Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you very much, Tom. We have one article on astronomical discoveries, and the title of it is Researchers Shed New Light on Solar Flares. Solar flares are explosions on the surface of the sun that release an enormous amount of energy equivalent to 1 trillion little boy atomic bombs exploding at the same time. In extreme cases, solar flares can disable radio connections and power stations on Earth, but they are also at the basis of stunning space weather phenomena. The northern lights, for instance, are linked to a solar flare that disturbs the magnetic field of the sun to such an extent that a bubble of solar plasma can escape from the atmosphere of the sun. Thanks to satellites and solar telescopes, we already understand quite a lot about the physical processes that take place during a solar flare. For one thing, we know that solar flares convert energy from magnetic fields into heat, light, and motion energy very efficiently. In science textbooks, these processes are commonly visualized as the standard 2D solar flare model. The details of this illustration, however, have never been confirmed. This is because creating a fully consistent simulation is a huge challenge, given that both macroscopic effects, we're talking several tens of thousands of kilometers here, larger than Earth, and microscopic particle physics had to be taken into account. Researchers at KU Leuven have been able to create such a simulation. As part of his doctoral research, Wenzi Ruan worked on the simulation with his colleagues and the team of Professor Roni Keppens at the KU Leuven Department of Plasma Astrophysics. The researchers used the computational power of Flemish superconductors, as well as a new combination of physical models in which the microscopic effects of accelerated charged particles were taken into account in a macroscopic model. Our work also makes it possible to calculate the energy conversion efficiency of a solar flare, Professor Roni Keppens explains. We can calculate this efficiency by combining the strength of the sun's magnetic field at the feet of the flare with the speed at which those feet move. If we can complete our observations in time, that is, because everything happens within a time span of tens of seconds to a few minutes, we've converted the results of the numerical simulation into virtual observations of a solar flare, whereby we imitated telescopes in all relevant wavelengths. This allowed us to upgrade the standard solar flare model from a textbook illustration to an actual model. All right, that's the end of that. And our next is visible satellite passages. KE5ICX, do you want to report on this, Tom?
Oh, sure, why not? I feel, well, okay, here we go. We actually got a few this week, which are quite nice. We got the International Space Station now showing up in the sky again with reflection down below. You can get all this information at Heavens Above. There's Heavens and a dash and above, so heavensabove.com. Plug in your longitude and latitude. There's actually a shortcut now where you can go in and just say enable your location, and it will plug in all that data for you. You don't have to look it up separately. So the International Space Station does have a couple of, oh dear, hold on here. I made some changes. Well, you'll just have to believe me here. There's two really good passes. June 26th, a minus 3.4 magnitude at 5:37 a.m. out of the west-southwest, reaches its highest point at 5:40 in the morning at 54 degrees, and then it falls at 5:43 around 10 degrees. Then there's a second one that shows up on the 27th. 27, minus 3.8 magnitude at 4:51 a.m. It'll be at 40 degrees when it starts, so it's going to be coming out of shadow. It reaches its highest point at 76 degrees at 4:52, and then it falls at 4:56. Also, the super secret X-37B doesn't have a designation except X-37B. Has a couple of interesting passes. Let me go find that information out. I'm looking on the wrong screen for whatever reason, but so it's confusing me. Best one is June 25th. This one would be at 22:35. That's very close. Was at 10:35 our time in the evening. It'll reach its highest point at 22:38 at 65 degrees, and then it just jumps right into shadow at that point at 22:38:16. So its highest point, and then poof, it's gone. Another pass, there's actually two other passes that are pretty good. June 27th, this will be out at 22:14 local time. It'll reach its highest point at 22:17 at 53 degrees, and it'll fall at 22:18 and 47. That one also goes into shadow or it somehow disappears. And then finally, June 28th at 21:16, it'll be out of the northwest, reach its highest point at 68 degrees at 21:19, and fall at 21:22 local time. Let's see. I guess I can do one more here. What the heck, right? Hubble Space Telescope. June 25th is a good... Now, you know what? Let me give you the best one here that I've got, which is June 28th, 1.2 magnitude at 4:36 a.m. It'll be at 39 degrees out of the south. It'll reach its highest point at 40 degrees at 4:36, and then it'll fall at 4:40. So we've had basically a dirge of decent passes that were visible, and then all of a sudden now we've got a bunch of them all showing up at the same time. You know, go figure, right? Back to you, Miss Brenda from KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. This is WB50ZL. About to wrap it up here. We're about out of time. Do we have any final check-ins? Does anyone need any fills? Do any checked-in stations have remarks or questions? All right then, tonight we had 28 hams participating on the air, and thank you all who checked into this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Until next Saturday night, this is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda, and I'll be closing the net at 10:24 p.m. local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe.
And we'll be back at 10:30, which is about 7 minutes from now, to talk about Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. So, you know, do that thing you have to do and come back then. KE5IC.
I'm sorry, what time are we coming back for Afterglow?
10:30.
Okay. WB50ZL clear.
I still think the Afterglow movie is a whale of a movie. KF5, JHA, everyone have a good night. I think I'm going to stick around, though.
Chaz, are you blubbering too much again in 5BB?
I want to get the lessons that Spock got on cursing. That's what I want to do from the movie.
You know, I thought I'd seen this movie, but I really hadn't. I think I watched part of it maybe on the TV or HBO or something years ago, but I'd never watched the whole movie. I'm really glad I did. In 5BB. See you in a few.
You know, you can check it off your list. No, I didn't do that right. I was trying to do checkoff.
Yeah, inside BB.
Normal state. W5FC.
I'm completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
This is N5HYT testing.
We can actually hear you, Tom, at 5BB.
Yeah, I'm cross-banding to get in the repeater better. This is N5HYP waiting for the afterglow.
Oh, I don't know. Who's net control tonight? Raise your hand and hold it close to the microphone so we can see it. I think I know the answer to that question. Well, I'll be your net control because why not? My voice will hold out. Let's see here. Tonight's movie is Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home. Yes, yes indeed. And I want you to think about, too, next week will be Field Day. Now, normally we watch a movie together, but we're apart. So I'm thinking let's just continue on with what we're doing, and we'll just kind of check in and talk about the movie like normal. That way then we'll have something to do between 10:30 and midnight. So there you have it. All right, let me go through the plot here real quick. The movie assigned this week was, and spelling counts, Star Trek IV, the Final Front, The Voyage Home. Now, where they come up with this date, I have no idea, but it says in 2286, an enormous cylindrical probe moves through space, sending out indecipherable signal and disabling the power of every ship it passes, spaceship, starship, whatever. As it takes up orbit around Earth, its signal disables the global power grid and generates planetary storms, creating a catastrophic sun-blocking cloud cover. Starfleet Command sends out a planetary distress call and warns all spacefaring vessels not to approach Earth. On the planet Vulcan, the former officers of the USS Enterprise, late that is, are living in exile following the events of Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Let's see, accompanied by Vulcan Spock, still recovering from his resurrection. The crew, except for Saavik, who remains on Vulcan, take their captured Klingon bird of prey, rename the bounty after the Royal Navy ship, and return to Earth to face trial for their actions. Receiving Starfleet's warning, Spock determines the probe signal matches the song of extinct humpback whales, not people, whales, and that the object will continue to wreak havoc until its call is answered. The crew uses their ship to travel back in time via slingshot maneuver around the sun, planning to return with the whale to answer the alien signal. Arriving in 1986, the crew finds their ship's power drained by time travel maneuver, hiding the bounty in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park using its cloaking device. The crew split up and to accomplish several tasks. Kirk and Spock attempt to locate humpback whales, while Scott and McCoy and Sulu construct a tank to hold the whales they need to return to the 23rd century. Uhura and Chekhov are asked to find a nuclear reactor whose energy leakage can be collected and used to repower the Klingon vessel. Good news, there's only 2 paragraphs left. Kirk and Spock discover a pair of whales in care of Dr. Gilliam Taylor at the Sausalito Aquarium and learn they will soon be released to the wild. Kirk tells her his mission and asks for the tracking frequency for the whales, but she refuses to cooperate. Meanwhile, Scott, McCoy, and Sulu trade the formula of transparent aluminum. By the way, we just discovered it, not in 1986, but recently, for materials needed for the whale tank. Uhura and Chekhov located a nuclear-powered ship, and it is the aircraft carrier Enterprise. They collect the power they need, but are discovered on board. Uhura beams out, but Chekhov is captured and subsequently severely injured in the escape attempt. Gilligan, and the skipper learns that the whales have been released early and goes to Kirk for assistance. Gillian, Kirk, and McCoy rescue Chekhov from a nearby hospital and return to the now recharged bird of prey. After saving the whales from poachers and transporting them aboard, the crew returns with Gillian to their own time. On approaching Earth, the Bounty loses power due to the alien probe and crash lands into the waters of San Francisco Bay. Once released from the near drowning, the whales respond to the probe signal, causing the object to reverse its effects on Earth and return to the depths of space. For their part in saving the planet, all charges against the Enterprise crew are dropped, save one for disobeying a superior officer, which is solely leveled at Kirk. Kirk is demoted from admiral to the rank of captain and returned to command of a starship. Kirk and Gillian part ways, and she has been assigned to a science vessel by Starfleet. The crew departs on their ship, the newly christened USS Enterprise NCC 1701 Bloody A, and leaves on a shakedown mission. And that completes the analysis. But you already knew this because most people, with the exception of a couple of people whose names won't be mentioned, who've never seen it before. That's okay. All right, I will take check-ins. I am KE5ICX. My name is Tom, and I'll be your net control. Please come now with your call sign name, if you want to, where you're transmitting from, but more importantly, did you see the movie? I need to do that. I need to know that. I need to know that you knew that you saw the movie. So, did you see Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home? Please come with your call sign name and location, and did you see the movie? Let's go.
This is November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Bill in Irving. Yes. Yes, sirree. I did see the movie.
November, Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony with Aaron in Dallas. Oh, I've seen the movie several times.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving, Saw the movie when it came out. Saw the movie many times. Got the DVD. It's a lot of fun.
November Victor 5 Fox, Virginia in Fort Worth. I saw it at the theater when it came out, and I've seen it a bunch of times.
Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto. Yes, I saw the movie.
Oops, I think I doubled with someone. This is KF5, JHA, Chaz, yes. I've seen the movie multiple times, and it wasn't a fluke that I said it is a whale of a movie.
All right, I think I got everybody. I will need one fill, so I didn't get everybody. Let me tell you who I got. I got N5BB, Bill in Irving. Yep, you saw the movie. NT5TM, Tony and Erwin. Also saw the movie, both of them. N5HYP, Tom and Irving. Welcome back. Yep, you saw the movie. Now the next was a double. I've got N55 Foxtrot, November Victor 5 Foxtrot. If that sounds like you, I do know that you saw the movie, but can I get fills and corrections?
This is November Victor 5 Foxtrot. You do have that correct. This is Virginia in Fort Worth.
Wonderful. I can still pick up when there's a major double. I can still pull them out. And thank you, Virginia. Welcome to the net, by the way. WB50ZL, Miss Brenda and DeSoto. Yep, got you checked in. KFIJHA, Chaz, Mr. Whale. You saw the movie. Additional over check-ins, please come down.
Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo. David in Dallas, yes, I saw it.
I saw the movie a long time ago, well, a few years ago.
Okay, there was another double. This time I could not pull out the double, but I did get W5EBV, David in Dallas. Yep, and then there was somebody else who saw the movie, but I didn't get anything before yes. So please come again.
This is K5ANE in Richardson, and yes, I saw the movie a few years ago.
Cool deal. I've got K5ANE over in Dallas. Yep, you saw the movie. You know what? You're net control next week, so good luck. Something. It's okay. I've got you down. You're wondering, what am I talking about? I don't know. All right, let me go to Echolink. Echolink, if you'd like to check in, I'm going to give you extra time. Please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home?
This is Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay and Weatherford. Yes, I've seen it. I'll be mainly listening. I've seen it a number of times. I know about as much of it as any film, but anyway, I'll be listening on the H5BGW.
Kilo Go 5, Papa Mike, November, James, Oklahoma. I saw part of the movie.
we'll come back in a little bit here. I got KG5BZW, that's Jay near Weatherford. Yep, you saw the movie, and I got James, KG. Oh, by the way, Jay, I see you say listen only. If you would like to make a comment at any time, just say break. Well, anybody can do that. Just say break, and I'll come to you or recheck. KG5PMN, James over in Oklahoma. Where he saw the movie. That's good. Anyone else on Echolink like to check in at this time? Wake up! It's your turn on Echolink.
Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman on Echolink. I'm watching sunrise over Stonehenge. Sorry I'm late checking in.
It's there. Okay, F5PDS, Miss Billy in Sherman. I've got you checked in. Anyone else on Echolink? I went a little too quick. I'm watching it now with 50,000 other people, but it's cloudy again, so I'm not sure what we're going to see. Something about England and clouds and fog and all that stuff. All right, let me see here. What are we going to do? Am I going to go in order? Do I go in reverse order? What should I do? I'll tell you what. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to go in order. So tonight only for you. So we've got Bill and 5BB. First thing we talked about is plot. What did you think about the plot? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it true to science fiction? Was it true to Star Trek? Was it dumb? Was it too funny? Was it not funny enough? Was it technologically good? Was it ecologically good? I don't know. We're going to ask Bill first. Bill, what did you think about the movie? You said it was a pleasant surprise to you that you had not seen it and you enjoyed it. So tell us why. And this is about the plot. So N5BB from KE5ICX.
Okay, Tom, this is N5BB. Well, yes, I'd seen pieces of it before, but I suddenly realized when I really saw the whole movie earlier today that I had never really sat down and watched the whole movie at a sitting, so I'm glad I did. And it had been many years since I had seen the pieces of it. I liked the plot. To me, it wasn't any more ridiculous than other Star Trek plots. I mean, travel in time, go through an alien spacecraft that you have figured out how to use, which that was the part that I strained my credibility the most. It was them figuring out how to use the spacecraft. Cloaking at Golden Gate Park. Know exactly where that is. Building a tank which could hold 2 whales. Transporting those whales into the tank. Going back through time. And then crash landing into San Francisco Bay, and Kirk swimming underwater to release the whales. It was just it was another Star Trek thing. Were there things that broke physics? Of course. But they were okay within the Star Trek universe, you know. Was it a little bit corny? Well, yeah. But the biologist, clung to Kirk so she could get transported back onto their spacecraft because she liked the whale so much. She wanted to make sure that she was there to be there when they were picked up and transported. So I had nothing wrong with this plot. I kind of liked it. I thought the movie was pleasurable. I wanted to see what would happen. Now, we already knew what was going to happen, but the details of it were kind of interesting as I went along, and so I thought it was an enjoyable movie. So there you go, N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. And I'm glad you enjoyed the movie. I'm surprised. Well, as you mentioned, you saw bits and pieces of it, but it's a favorite of fans when it comes to the movies. Well, I'm not going to. I'll hold off on my comments. Let me move on. I got NT5TM. Tony and Aaron saw the film. What did you think about it? And did you see it recently? And tell us about the plot from KE5ICX.
Tom, I am kind of sad that you still never put Howard the Duck, because that's that has a lot in common with this movie. They're both very silly. The plot is largely the same. It's a lot of really that generally have in the light movie. The plot really revolves around comic tropes that they do over and over again, and they do it well. Aaron pointed out but the comic device they keep using over and over again is saying a hospital, what is it? It's the big building where all the doctors are, but that's not important right now. Oh boy, Admiral, what are you here for? I'm here to keep up your whales and take you to the future. I don't believe it. It's pretty striking in the real world when we say what's literally true. When your coworkers say, how are you in the morning, you don't really tell them that you had a lot of trouble passing gas when you eat scrambled eggs. Really, no one wants to hear that. But when it's done well by a skilled writer, it can make the whole plot of a movie. So it's silly, but it's delightfully silly. It's probably the most accessible Star Trek movie. It's a heck of a lot more fun than Star Trek 3. And we're both having a great evening watching it. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. I got bad news for you. Your battery is going dead. You may want to crossband or go to the regular radio. I got some of that, and the fact that it was a successful film. But I'm going to recommend you do something and improve your position or improve your radio. I know you got one. You had TS-2000 sitting over there waiting for you. I think you can even do crossband with it. But in any case, you want to try one more time? I got the best part. The last part was that it was the most accessible Star Trek film you'd seen. If you can back up and give us the last few sentences, that might help if you want to give it a shot. Otherwise, I'll just come back around and let you make additional comments. You want to try again?
Is this any better?
Oh, Tony, that's way better. Go ahead and restate what you said.
Okay, I was humorously saying that I wish we could also put Howard the Duck on the movie list, because this movie and that movie, with their fish out of water premise, have a lot in common. Also, their great love of one-liners and their great use of the same comic gag. And that gag is one that appears over and over again in the airplane movies. It's telling the literal truth when it's not expected. A hospital? What's that? It's a big building where all the doctors are, but that's not important right now. What are you here for, Admiral? I'm here to kidnap your whales and take them to the future.
So we were having a lot of fun and both enjoying the fact that, A, the fish out of water thing is great, all the one-liners are great, and just sometimes telling the literal truth makes people laugh. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Yeah, much improved signal. And, you know, I haven't removed Howard the Duck from the list of movies. I'm just trying to find a freebie link that's available, and it's like impossible. If we do this, we're all going to have to dig deep into our pockets and come up with $2 to watch the movie. So I have asterisked it again because you mentioned it before, and since twice is one better than once, I'm going to say we'll get it on the list. I promise. Your contributions are appreciated, and we may have to throw some money at it to see this film. Okay, next up is N5HYP, Tom and Company. You saw the movie? I don't know if recently or not. I got a yes by your name. What did you think about the plot for Star Trek IV? The Voyage Home. I have to go through all the list of names because I can never remember the name of this one. So go ahead, Tom, from KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and the net. This is N5HYP. Yeah, well, we're back. Had to be back for this movie. It is, yes, I agree with Tony. It is the most accessible of the Star Trek movie franchise. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that kind of comes from Nimoy's directing. The next movie in the chain was the one that was supposed to have been directed by Shatner, which was a kind of a disaster, and I think somebody else ended up taking it over. It was fun. It just is fun. It was after the serious Khan and the search for Spock. This was a very lighthearted, fun movie. It was, the time travel trope in Star Trek has happened quite a bit, whether it be, going back to a planet that's emulating Nazi Germany, or a planet that's doing the Roman Empire, or a couple of other things like that. But this was a lot of fun. It had a good story, and it, of course, back in the '86, it was great to see your old friends. Still great to see your old friends, even though Scotty has passed away. All three of us, Anna, Holly, and I, just really love the movie. It's a good flick, and there's a couple of, I think, rough editing in it early on. It's like you'll go from a scene with one music to just a hard cut with a completely different music bed in the background, without really a... So that was, I may have timed out my own radio here. So that was, kind of distracting a little bit. But, for 1986, it wasn't up to Star Wars or even the latest Star Wars, but it was a fun ride. Back to net, N5HYP with KC5QLN on the side. This is N5HYP.
Very good. Thank you, Tom. And by the way, this movie was up for an Academy Award for Best Picture. I know that seems impossible, and this is before they extended out to like 10 different movies. This is back when you had 5, and it did get nominated for several awards, which was a surprise. But we'll get to those in a bit. Next is NV5F, Virginia. You saw the movie. What did you think about the plot from KE5ICX?
KE5ICX and the net. This is NV5F, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw this movie when it first came out at the movies. forever ago, 1986, and I believe that it was probably the first Star Trek movie I ever did see at the movie theater. And I enjoyed it back then a great deal. I think one of the reasons I decided I wanted to see it was because there was a review of it on probably Good Morning America or something, and they were talking about how funny it was and how unusual that was for a Star Trek movie to be so funny. So I remember going to see it and enjoying it a great deal back then. I still enjoy it. It's probably because it's such a memory. And when I watch it now, the thing that I've really noticed about it is that it's an 80s movie. It's like, let's do the 80s one-liner jokes and literal humor, the kind of fish out of water story, no pun intended, was kind of a mid-80s kind of thing. And at the time, my favorite movie was Short Circuit, which had come out earlier that year, and I thought that Mr. Spock's humor in Star Trek IV resembled that same kind of humor from the movie Short Circuit, lots of literal jokes, and because Spock was still sort of reconstituting after being resurrected, and he was kind of a, just sort of a funny kind of comic relief in a way in this movie. And then just the environmental plot was a real big thing at the time. That was starting to be a big thing, and some of it's a little preachy. I remember thinking that when I watched it as an adult, but when I was a kid, I was like totally down with all the, environmentalism and the humor and all the characters. You really get to see the nature of all the characters, kind of like back in the original Star Trek show. And unfortunately, not only has Scotty gone on in, so has Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley. So we have lost several Star Trek people that were in this movie. But I love the joke, the jokes with the nuclear vessels and all that good stuff. It's just good. It's fun. It's funny. It's a little crazy. It's a little out there, and I still enjoy it. So I won't go on too long because I'll be starting to do like film analysis, critique and analysis, like from college or something. So I won't go on too long, but I think the kind of inciting incident in the plot is like, it's kind of random. All of a sudden, here comes this probe, and it only speaks humpback whale language. But it just made for a fun movie with a good ending, and of course, Kirk gets what he wants, which is to command a starship again, and the Klingon ship, and all that stuff is all just great. It's got a little bit of everything, and I can't think of who wouldn't at least enjoy this movie a little bit. So that'll be it for me. Back to Net in V5F.
All right, well, thank you, Virginia. And I can't resist making this comment, but they got that universal translator thing that, that's all they need. They just send it out. They figured out the V'ger probe, and it took them a little while, but, and Nomad and all of that, but for some reason they had to travel back in time. But then again, if they sent the message out, the movie would have lasted 10 minutes. So, you gotta wonder. Okay, next up is Brenda, WB5OZL. This is her favorite Star Trek movie, I believe. She said that last night. She admitted it. Brenda, tell us why. Did you like the plot from KE5I6?
This is WB5OZL. Yes, it's my favorite Star Trek movie by far, and as a card-carrying Trekkie, I've been in a Star Trek fan club for 30 years. I can tell you, we all love it. It's everybody's favorite. So, and we all went to see it together in costume at one time. Not in '86. It probably came around again. Now, there were other movies we went to see together in costume, but this predates that. I digress. It's just a fun, lighthearted movie, and it took all the better parts of Star Trek and put them together in one movie. The bantering and the dedication to each other, their loyalty and friendship, the brilliance of getting things done, everything about it just makes you want to cheer for them because they're our heroes. One thing I had a problem with the story is we're going to get 2 whales and repopulate the Earth with them. Even though Gracie was pregnant, you're not going to repopulate with 2 whales and their baby. You're going to end up with some genetic problems. So if they wanted to repopulate the Earth with whales, they needed to go back and get some more, in my opinion. And I wasn't really sure why the big ship, first of all, was so upset at not finding any whales, and then they found a couple, and they said, okay, we'll go now. I would think if they can communicate, the whales that came back from the past would say, yeah, they killed us all, at which point maybe the whale ship would kill off the Earth. Didn't have too many problems with the plot besides that. And, okay, that's all I got for now. WB50ZL.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. And yes, we all agree. I don't generally wear costumes to movies, but that's okay. If you do, that's fine. I know everybody's a captain in Starfleet, so you probably, I won't say it. Next up is KF5JHA. Chaz, are you awake? Are you here actually talking about a movie after 10:30? Okay, you're up. Wait, tell us what you thought about the plot. Let's see how long you can go without a pun. KF5JJ from KE5ICX.
I can't go even one sentence. It would be a fluke if I did that. So I didn't want to disappoint you going very short period of time without one bad joke about whales. Okay. Hey, it was fun. It's a Star Trek plot. They saved the world again. How many times have they done that? Yeah, Beecher was one of them. Yeah, okay, so they've saved the world. How many times? Lots of times. And they have to do all sorts of things. They always have to violate the directives to be able to do this. They have to violate some sort of rules or laws in order to save the world. Nobody has mentioned one of the best scenes on the bus, the quieting of the obnoxious person and the raucous applause that happened thereafter. Nobody's mentioned that. I think that was funny. There was lots of little things all throughout the movie that were just, that they added in. The writers were really good about adding all those little things in. So, I don't know. It was a standard Star Trek thing, and yes, there was lots of humor. I just did enjoy it, of course, because of the humor. So, should I leave it back to you? Because I think you're up next, aren't you, Tom? You gather all the information for everyone else, and then spit out the summary from everyone else, and it makes you sound really good. So, okay. This is KF5JHA, and I am still awake, yes.
Oh, you bet your sweet bippy I do. I take all the information and then you take and you criticize it all. It's like Cliff's Notes on Cliff's Notes. with Fred is talking about Cliff's notes, which is what we all do anyway, right? But I don't have a brother named Fred, so it doesn't matter. It all makes sense to me. Okay, well, yes, that's all agreeable. Absolutely agreeable. I was going to write something down and I got distracted. Something about what you said. Well, I'll think of it eventually. Next up is not me. It's David, W5EBB. David always has great things to talk about. I'll even take notes during his part because then I can sound smarter at the end. Not because David isn't. He's really smart. He knows. He puts in a lot of details, and then I just say, you know what? You're absolutely right. That's exactly what I was thinking. And now that I've embarrassed the hell out of him, David, W5EBB, go ahead with your analysis. I'm taking notes.
Well, and I check in toward the end of the net during check-ins for the same reason that you mentioned, so I can, consider what other people just said. Okay, plot. Well, this plot does not feel very Star Trek-ish. Nobody dies, no starship battles, no phaser fire, no photon torpedoes, no transporter malfunctions, no aliens invading the brains of those at the highest level of Starfleet causing them to act strangely and issue bizarre orders. Not even an Enterprise, except at the very end. The plot overall is just a little bit far-fetched, puerile, pedestrian, let me grab my thesaurus, silly. Okay. So an interstellar probe, let's call it Oumuamua, approaches Earth transmitting an indecipherable analog variant of FT8 using power levels way above the legal limit, all kinds of splatter, no RF choke on the feed line, lots of RFI problems for the neighbors, tripping all their circuit breakers as it passes by. But once Spock determined that only the whales can reply to it, as only recently resurrected Spock could have, then they just need to slingshot around the sun, go back in time, grab a few whales, bring them back, drop them in the ocean, let them all have a quick QSO with Oumuamua, so it can then go about its jolly way, leave the Earth alone, and work some other DX stations. Now, oddly, it's a pretty good movie, and the plot actually works for what it is. Yes, it's campy, but it's fun. It's fun to see our beloved cast juxtaposed to an Earth setting, present-day-ish. The original series did this in a few episodes, too, and they were well regarded by fans. They went back to Earth, went back in time. I like those episodes, too, and I like this movie, W5EBB.
David, I loved it. Excellent comments, and that's really true. I think, if I remember correctly, there's a scene in there where Uhura's trying to figure out what all is being sent and received and all of that. And there actually is, and somebody isolated it, there's RTTY that comes in on the thing, and it's actually from a contest. I think this is the movie where it's in there. It's like half a second long, and somebody was able to decode it. Well, it have to be more than half a second if it's pretty, but let's say 10 seconds of information. I don't remember. Maybe it was some other episode. Movie episode. Doesn't matter. But very true. Yes. And photon torpedoes, always in most of the movies, you needed that maniacal villain. That was a requirement, too. Okay. Thank you, David. Good comments. Next up is K5ANE. That's Kane in Dallas. He saw it. Kane, tell us your analysis of the plot from KE5ICX.
Well, I really wanted to check in tonight and make sure that I apologized for my lack of net control the other week and not tuning in at the right time. And I really appreciate you, KE5ICX, for stepping up and handling that loss. Finally got things moved into this house, so I'll be able to participate, assuming I'm taking anything good tonight. Anyways, time to talk about Star Trek. So, when I saw this, I saw this originally because my girlfriend brought over the box set, who's now my wife, and she was like, "Oh, you're starting to get into Star Trek," and I was watching The Next Generation and all the other things and whatnot, and it's very much very nerdy Star Trek, all the actual series, and pop culture kind of thing. So in the first few movies were definitely that way. However, when we get to Star Trek 4, it's suddenly this 80s comedy-ish kind of very highly accessible kind of sci-fi, and I don't know, it's weird talking about this movie. It's very different from pretty much any of the other Star Trek movies and series out there. It's kind of hard for me to really say if it's a good thing or a bad thing that it's so radically different from everything else that seems Star Trek, because at its core, it's still very much Star Trek. Its core message is a positive message for society, and it's still trying to build us up to this ideal utopia that they're trying to showcase in the original series and in subsequent series, except for maybe what CBS is doing these days. So, in the end, would I say this is a good plot or a bad plot? I don't know. I'd say in the end it's probably good, but it just doesn't always feel like Star Trek. I do have to say, as a random note on this movie, there's an interesting fact about the transparent aluminum that they make a big point to talk about, and that there's actually a real transparent aluminum oxynitride, that's commonly used as things like bulletproof glass and things like that. So that clear titanium, or clear transparent aluminum, is actually a real thing. That's all for me. This is K5ANE, back to net.
Thank you, Kane, and yes indeed, it's transparent aluminum. Let's see, Jay says he's listen only, which is unusual for him. Jay, KG5BZW, I'm going to call you out. You may be gone, you may not answer, that's okay, you don't have to, but if you have any comments about plot, I'm going to let you go ahead, because you normally do, but you don't have to, because you said you didn't have to. So if you don't have to, then you don't have to. But if you want to, you can. KG5BZW from KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. How about this as an excuse? I've seen it enough times that I didn't really feel like seeing it today, even though to really comment on it, I probably would have had to have seen it. And just due to certain circumstances, it's like, yeah, I've seen it enough. I'll enjoy everybody else's comments. That's my comment. KG5BZW.
Okay, cool deal. Good with it. Next is James, KG5PMN, up in Oklahoma somewhere. James, you saw the movie. You gave it an affirmative. What did you think about the plot from KE5I6?
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Mike November, James up here just outside of Walters, Oklahoma. I thought the plot was pretty good. It kind of, from what I remember, I have been a Trekkie, so I never really watched all the episodes of Star Trek, once a week back when it was on. But the movie kind of reminded me of typical Star Trek, where they get a call from somewhere, and then they go in and try to save the planet, save the race, save the whatever. And I thought it was kind of a fun show, but thought it had a bunch of the '60s era aspects to it, like the Beverly Hillbillies when they first landed on Earth and trying to get ingrained in, I guess it was the early 70s culture. Looked like that one blue pickup that she was driving was about a 75 model. And then maybe it's a little bit of aspects of Gomer Pyle and Green Acres and thrown in there. Just kind of the comedy stuff. Back when they were trying to get things working and going together and interacting with the other people the way they did. And I just kind of flowed it down from what I could see of it with a bad connection. Just kind of flowed back to the next KG5 PM in.
All right, James, thank you very much. Next up is Miss Billy, KF5PDS. Billy, what do you think about the plot on this film? Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
I agree with the comments that have said before. It's a fun romp. Does not have the typical Star Trek features, so I think it was a good departure. It was nice to see a movie that didn't just follow the same Star Trek formula. So it was action-packed. It was fun. There were a lot of funny moments, especially when they went back in time, how to navigate the 1980s world. Some really laugh-out-loud moments, when Spock puts the pinch on the punk rocker on the bus, and when Uhura and Chekhov are on the corner just, asking people on the street where the nuclear whistles were, and the cops' reaction to that, it was just priceless. There were just some really fun moments. And it's touching to think, that by killing those creatures, they almost doomed their own existence, and they had to fix it. So, and I agree with Brenda, it's like you can't repopulate the species with just mom, dad, and one baby whale. So I would assume that they would go back and get others. They must have put a science team on that project to handle that. So we would think that would get taken care of. What didn't figure into part of the story. So we got the immediate details, and then we kind of have to use our imagination to fill in the rest. I really do love this film. I saw it in the theaters when it first was out, and I've seen it many times since. It's my second favorite after Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. I seem to like the even-numbered Star Treks more than the odd ones. Not sure why that is, just the way it played out. But it's a fun movie. It doesn't have any lag in it. The action is always moving from one thing to another. It's campy, it's rompy, it's fun. So it's just never-ending, action from start to finish, and gets you thinking about, we need to be careful with Earth's creatures because, if we accidentally eliminate any of them, it could doom our own existence. So it does get you thinking, which, usually 80s movies don't do that. That was more of a 70s movie thing to be very socially and environmentally conscious. 80s movies were usually more about just, having fun and characters in different wacky situations resolving themselves and lots of, fun and mayhem. So it was kind of interesting to see that kind of environmentally, socially conscious theme appear in an 80s film. So I really enjoyed it. I'll have more comments when we get to characters. So this is KF5PDS, back to net.
All right, very good. Thank you, Miss Billy. I agree with you on all of that. Let me see. I do want to mention N5IMS, he's not checked in. He says he's listen only tonight, but he's over here on Echolink talking a little bit too. He says the decode was UR599 NTX 599 NTX CQ field day CQ field day. And digitally, that's what whales do. Digital. So no doubt in my mind. All right, or maybe it wasn't digital. Maybe it was whale talk. All right, we're at the bottom of the list. I will take additional additional check-ins. I know there's some tardy people out there. I just know if you would like to check in, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. Did you see ST4, the voyage home?
Alpha Foxtrot 5 Tango X-Ray, BJ, Crandall, Texas.
Kilo India 5, Gulf Romeo Hotel, Melissa in Dallas.
Well, I got two more. I got regular suspects. I got AF5TX BJ in Crandall. I got KI5GRH, Melissa in Dallas. I will say, BJ, did you see the movie Star Trek for The Voyage Home? And you can tell us about the plot. Did you enjoy the plot? Let's see how that goes. Go ahead, BJ.
You know, actually, I enjoyed the whole movie. The two interesting parts about it is when they took off in the Klingon ship to go after the whales, and all of a sudden that whaling ship goes to shoot its cannon off, and it hits the ship, and then all of a sudden it appears, and that ship's trying to make a U-turn right fast without breaking his neck. And the second part that really got me is when the curator come up and picked them both up from walking down the street, and Kirk walks over and looks at her and says, I think he did a little bit too much of LDL back in the Barclay days, you know? But it was a great movie. I enjoyed it. It was really intriguing when I first saw it, and I've seen it about 3 times since, AF5TX.
Well, thanks for the comments on that one. And yeah, I agree. I got my comments coming here in a minute. KI5GRH, Melissa, did you see ST4, The Voyage Home?
Well, good evening, Tom and Annette. You know, usually I cannot even stay awake this long, but I had homework to do. And I've been listening the whole time and enjoying it, and I just enjoy hearing the word ship, S-H-I-P, sound like a bad word, and with two syllables. Anyway, I saw it a long time ago, but I don't remember enough about it, and now I regret that I haven't seen it recently, so I guess I'll have to go see it, because I remember it being good. I just don't remember the details. So I couldn't talk intelligently about it. Not that I could anyway. But anyway, y'all are so much fun to listen to when I'm doing homework. KF5GRH, back to you.
All right, Melissa. Well, thanks for checking in. And, you know, we go late. People fall out. I think I was net control one time and I actually fell asleep. So that can happen, and there's a lot of dead air. They just assume your battery's out, which is true. Your battery is out. All right, my comments on the movie. As far as the plot, I thought it was good. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It was very fun. I do have this little visceral thing that goes on when it comes to Star Trek and funny stuff. When the movie is intentionally funny, or the episode is intentionally funny, I have a tendency to get a little... I draw back from it a little bit. One of these is, an example in the original series was Trouble with Tribbles, which I found entertaining and fun, but at the same time, it kind of wasn't Star Trek to me in a way. And some of the lines, like with Spock, who's still finishing off a Kirkism, and it's meant to be funny. Spock isn't meant to be funny in that case because he doesn't quite understand humor. I know that's kind of a blunt force comment on that, but I kind of felt that way a little bit with this movie, too. There were times like that. And it's a personal thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It was tremendously entertaining, and I laughed like everybody else. But it wasn't in that way a Star Trek film as I'm used to seeing, or a Star Trek story. Now, a movie that violates that incredibly is Star Trek V, the one that came after that. That movie I throw shoes at. I've only seen it twice. I have a copy of it. I saw it in the theater, which is here when I first came to Dallas in '89, and I wasn't impressed. And then I watched it again. My parents bought me a laser disc of the thing. And I watched it a second time, and I've not watched it since. So if you want to have a movie that's really terrible, that's the one. Intentional humor, slapstick, and all that, that's terrible. So you can make things even way worse than anything. And I think that this movie works, but it's not as deep as it could be. On the other hand, the one thing I do like about it is that we don't have this maniacal mustached character to deal with. Whether it be or I don't know, one of the other characters, Krug or whatever his name was from 3, or Spock's brother from 5, or the guy from Taxi in 6. Those are very formulaic, so I like the idea that they didn't have a character that was to be, punched out and thrown in volcanoes and things like that, which I find kind of just is dumb. So the movie definitely had that. I like the faceless character, and they have to figure this stuff out. But my question was, too, is that, okay, why, you don't know about whales? You got pictures of whales all over the ship. Don't you have something that says, I'm sorry, you went too far. You have to go back 2 billion miles back in the other direction to make a right turn. This is the wrong town. And be done with it, but then there'd be no story. I also find the whole thing about time travel, much like what happened with Star Trek and the Borg, is that time travel is used so much in Star Trek that it is what is it? Ex machina, where you just take and have some mechanical thing that solves all your problems. In this case, the mechanical thing is time travel. While it's fun, and it's enjoyable to do, you can solve any problem with time travel if you want to. Oh, Spock's dead. Oh, let's go back in time and pick him up before he dies. Yeah, you can do that if you want. They selectively decide this stuff. And it always causes all these things to happen, right down to Star Trek, the JJ movie reboots, and even in future television series, you've got all these problems with previous Star Trek episodes pushing forward. Even Discovery has that problem. And the timeline gets polluted like crazy in the process. So, what are the rules? There are no rules. You can do whatever you want. How long does it take to get from one place to another? However long it takes to tell a story. How long does it take to that tube thing to go from one part of the ship to the other? As long as it takes for the dialogue. So it's convention, and I get this kind of like nosebleed reaction to it. I'm not sure I like that. All right, I'm done with that. Anyone else want to check in at this point before I go to the top of the list and we talk about characterization? Please come now.
Let's see if I'm actually on the right repeater this time. It's been a long day. I've already... Never mind. Nobody cares. WT9V, Michael, Plano. Yes, I've seen it multiple times, just not this week. So I have to go back and remedy that.
All right, collect your thoughts. I'm sure you have been testing people. You're probably on your 9 millionth person for technician or beyond. But assemble your thoughts. What did you think about the plot for Star Trek 4 from KE5ICX?
Yeah, not 9 million, somewhere on about 180 at this point. I don't want to say anything bad about it because I think other people have already said everything bad about it. Like complaining about nitpicky things and not paying attention, while glossing over the fact that, okay, we have time travel, yeah, okay. We have travel in space, yeah, okay. We have all these other things, yeah, sure. But, yeah, so anyway, whatever. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. It was, I don't tell anybody, Tom, but I even like Star Trek 5. But yeah, the even-numbered Star Trek movies were obviously better than the odd-numbered. The odd-numbered ones were more challenging, so to speak. Whereas the even-numbered ones seem to be really, I don't know why, but that's the way it kind of worked out. Like, oh, we'll throw something out there. No, now we got to make a good one. No, we'll throw something out there. No, we're going to... Anyway. I just enjoyed the movie. There were so many things that were funny. Even Scotty trying to figure out how to work a computer. I don't know. You could poke holes in it big enough to drive a truck through, but I just enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. And, yeah, that's it. I just thought it was fun. 17IV.
That's all you got? It was fun? You're the guy in the back seat of the car that's going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? And this is what you offer? Why, we're there, but I'm not, well, it's nice. Okay. All right, I heard you. Okay, let's see. We get a long list. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and 1137. Okay, carry the 1. I will go through the list on characterization. We know most of the characters, but you got anything to say about other characters or those characters or something? Think about how they're different than normal, because this is from a TV series originally, and 3 movies that came before it, and a bunch of movies that have since come after it. I don't know. Just think about it. Let's start at the top. Characterization, N5BB. Bill, you got it. Go ahead.
Okie dokie, this is N5BB. Well, I really like the woman biologist that loved the whales. And I really like her pickup truck. And in one scene, you could see that on the back window of the pickup truck was a sticker, I heart whales. I love whales. I thought that was just great. And I think that actress did a good job, and her character was written pretty well. You want to like her in the movie, okay? She's a very likable character. Of course, all the Star Trek characters from the Enterprise, from the spaceship, they're all likable also. They have to be. That's just the way it goes. They're always likable. DeForest Kelley even played it pretty straight. He didn't go overboard. his eyes didn't bulge out, saying, "I'm only a doctor." Although he did get a little bit mad when they had the primitive methods in the hospital. Like, "You're going to do surgery?" But the rest of the movie, he kind of played it down. But everybody got to kind of stand out. I mean, everybody had their own thing to do, and they did it well. Nobody goofed up. Chekhov did fall and hurt himself badly, but that was just an accident. He was doing a pretty good job there, trying to hide on the Enterprise. So I like the characters. I like the characterizations. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I thought it was a little extreme when the biologist grabbed onto Kirk so she could be transported on board. I don't know how she really figured that out. I wouldn't think it'd be super obvious, but maybe it was, that she could just clutch onto him and get transported on board. I also don't understand why earlier in the movie they had some kind of walkway that came down, and they used the walkway. But for some reason, later in the movie, they used the transporter. Maybe they had transporter power problems earlier in the movie. I don't know. The whales. The whales did a pretty good job playing their characters. Everybody back in Starfleet Command was largely nincompoops, especially the assembly. But that's the way that was played up. I guess that's it in Fabibi.
All right, thank you, Bill. And that's kind of where I'm going a little bit with this, too, is that, we know the Star Trek characters from the original series pretty well, and talking about anything different about what they do, but the other ancillary characters, or even the co-stars in this thing, are kind of where we're going with it. All right. That doesn't mean you can talk about anything you want. Characterization this time around. NT5TM, Tony, wake up! You still there? What did you and Aaron think about characterization from KE5ICS?
Oh, we had a good time. I mean, in a way, this movie is kind of like a piece of fan fiction. What would happen if all the characters got to have a vacation and they weren't grappling with strange diseases and interplanetary monsters, but were just having fun? Okay, yes, the whole world had to be saved, but it's a movie. You've always got to save the world in a movie. I mean, that's what it's there for. This is as close to vacation as you get in a movie-saving kind of universe. I mean, it even ended with sort of a pool party. We got to see Spock laughing as they all went swimming. I mean, it's a vacation. Aaron mentions that what they really needed was the airplane slide that they used in Real Genius in the big pool party scene there. And Aaron also noticed a name on the credits, Jane Weedland, who was apparently in a band who got to play a minor... The Go-Go's, who got to play a minor character in this movie. So, yeah, this is as close as we're ever going to get to see all the canon characters on vacation. NT5TM.
All right, thank you, Tony. Next up, N5HYP, Tom and the Clan. What'd you think of characterization?
N5HYP. I'm not going to say much. We've all said it all. We like them. They're fun. And I like the fact that they did. they did not take themselves too seriously in this one. And as you should expect, if you're being put into a situation that's not normal. So that's what made the humor. So it was great, and we'll look forward to the next movie. I'm out of here. We'll see you later. God bless all from N5HYP.
Okie dokie, Tom. Thanks for coming by, and don't make yourself so scarce next time. We like you here. Next up, NV5F, Virginia. Your comments on characterization from KE5ICX.
KE5ICX in the net. This is NV5F. It's pretty much unanimous with everybody else. The movie was funny. The characters were... it was kind of the fan fiction idea, more like, for me, more like if I were in high school in 1986, which I was, and I were writing a piece of Star Trek fan fiction, what would happen if everybody from Star Trek came to now? What would it be like? I think it, the comedy of it is great. The kind of goofy version of Mr. Spock, where he's kind of trying to find himself again, is really great. His interaction with Captain Kirk, you know, he's kind of trying to help him rediscover who he is good. Dr. Bones, you know, still kind of marveling because he was the one who had carried Spock's Katra to Vulcan to reunite him with his body, and you know, they had kind of a different relationship after that in Star Trek 3, and so that was kind of neat to see that kind of being fleshed out a little bit. And then of course Scotty's always great, and then the whole thing with Chekhov and the nuclear vessels, and I did like Dr. Jillian. I'm going to cite Short Circuit again because that was my most prevalent movie at the time. And there was still that similar idea of her from the character Stephanie in Short Circuit, who had a food truck that had little stickers like that all over it, like, you know, I love pets and love your pets, and, you know, like the I love whales bumper stickers. So it was very mid-'80s, you know, kind of thing, and she had a similar character to me. Except that instead of adopting every animal, you know, within 5 miles, she adopted whales. So, and then the scene where Mr. Spock is swimming in the tank and mind melding with the whale is one of the most funny things in all of Star Trek. So yeah, I'm agreeing with everybody else. The characters are funny. The scene with Dr. McCoy in the hospital and all that. He gives he gives the old lady the medicine for her dialysis, her kidney, and by the time he comes by again, she's cured, and it's a miracle, and, you know, just some really funny stuff to work with there. So anyway, I'll try to finish up there, and just hope everybody has a good evening. I don't know if I'm going to make it to special effects, but we'll see. Back to net NV5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Probably what I'll do is we'll open up after this round. We'll just open up for anything because we're actually running long, which probably isn't that unusual considering this popular movie. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda, your comments on characterization from KE5ICX.
This is WB5OZL. Well, of course, they're our favorite characters. We love these people, and they were, you know, they're always true to themselves. You don't see a lot of deviation from their, you know, from their normal. And there's a lot of comfort in knowing that they're predictable and that you can count on them to be a certain way. You know, a long history with the characters, of course. They have had built on it for decades at this point. So, yeah, we like them. I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna have something to say later. I'm kind of brain fried right now. WB50ZL.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. I had a nap this afternoon. It worked well. It was unintentional. I went unconscious for a while, and then I woke up and went, I feel refreshed. Do that every once in a while. I do it at work all the time. K5JHA, that's Chess. Are you, sir? You're an astronomer. You should be awake until 5 o'clock in the morning. So tell us about characterization from KE5ICX. Wake up. You ran away, didn't you? You're not used to being up late. K5JHA, where are you? Fail. Let's move on to W5EBB. David, your characterization from KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. Well, this movie definitely had an 80s look and feel. Kirk's uniform, a gutsy combination of light mauve and merlot. Wow. As the jaywalking crew elicited and returned colorful metaphors, you can barely make out towards the end of that scene Sulu flipping the bird at one of the irate drivers. I had to freeze frame that, but yeah, he did it. Now, when Spock says, to hunt a species to extinction is not logical, Dr. Gillian replies, whoever said the human race was logical? That was a perfect spot for one of Spock's trademark replies, indeed. But he didn't. There was just an awkward silence, which I filled while watching it, saying it out loud, the line that Spock should have said, indeed. I think the whale's response to the probe, translated, was, no, they still aren't ready yet. W5EBB.
Oh, excellent point. Boy, short, sweet, and to the point. I agree with you. I hadn't thought about that, but David, you're right. You're right about how that should have been handled. K5ANE, Kane, your thoughts on characterization? Go ahead.
In the same way that I felt about the plot, this movie is still very strange. We see all the same main characters of the original series all here together and doing the same kind of things that they tend to end up doing. However, to an extent, it really feels like they're almost a characterization of themselves, and they're playing to their stereotypes of their character to almost an extreme in many ways. That's just kind of how I feel about the whole movie, and it trying to be more accessible and, you know, just try and get more people into Star Trek. And so they end up taking a lot of the same characters and, you know, really playing out the jokes of the characters a bit more than they normally do. And to make it a more accessible Star Trek, I think it comes off pretty well. This is K5ANE.
All right, thank you, Kane. And yeah, I agree with you. This goes back to the comedy thing, and somebody else mentioned it as fanfic. So I'll save my comments, but I get where you're going with it. Let's see. KG5B said W. I'm checking. He's still there. Jay, what do you say about characterization from KE5ICX? he may have fallen asleep, but that's okay. He said he wasn't going to stick around. He was listen only, so he meant it. KG5PMN. James, your comments on characterization. Go ahead.
KG5PMN. Characterizations, they just seem to kind of follow their, what I remember from their, the series days, except for Spock, and since y'all didn't really watch, episode 3, I think, that just Spock was kind of not his normal self, but, I guess that was related to a previous movie. Like the scientist at the the water whatever that water park, whatever it was, kind of liked her, and she played a good part in it. Back to the net, KG5PMN.
All right, thank you, James. Short and sweet, and to the point. Next up, KF5PDS, Miss Billy. Your thoughts on characterization? Go ahead. From KE5ICX.
We're already familiar with the majority of the characters, just the new ones that when we go back in time, we meet Jillian and everyone that's back in the 80s. So we have a well-established cast, so we know what to expect of these characters. We understand their humor, their idiosyncrasies, and then we just have to see how they blend in the 80s or not blend in, as the case may be. I love Jillian. She's she's smart, she's funny, she's independent. She's the only woman that seemed to be affected by Captain Kirk's charms, which I thought was a great, it was refreshing. Because she didn't have to try to seduce her to get any information out of her. They just had a frank conversation over a beer and ordering a pizza. The pizza came right when they were leaving, but still they were sitting in a place, having a drink, just having a very honest conversation. After he finally just said, "Okay, I'm just going to tell you what's going on," and she is accepting, and they just have this great conversation about what to do with the whales. And that was a refreshing change of pace. And I also loved that they got assigned to a science vessel, and he was like, how am I going to find you? I don't even have your number. And she said, don't worry, I'll find you, which, and then gives him a quick peck on the cheek, says, see you around the galaxy, and kind of leaves him speechless. He just didn't know what to make of that, because she wasn't a woman just falling all over. So I was like, wow, a woman that's immune to Captain Kirk's charms, that's different, and it was funny, and I love that moment at the end. I love all the short little characters, like you mentioned the kidney dialysis woman. I thought that was just priceless. I loved that McCoy was like, here, you swallow this, and then she has a new kidney. I just thought that was so great. I felt so wonderful for that lady. I was just like, yes, and then you have some cameos. Tony, you mentioned Jane Weedland. I'm a big Go-Go's fan. Absolutely love them. And I was also in high school back then, and that was a big deal, to see that she had a cameo in the Star Trek movie. I was just like, wow, when your worlds collide like that, it's so much fun. She's billed, I looked her up on IMDb, she's billed as Alien Communications Officer, so it's probably a very quick, almost a blink if you miss it cameo, but it makes you want to go back and watch and find her, so that was really neat. There's also some cameos of classic characters. Majel Barrett is there, but she's there as Commander Chapel. She gets promotion. Grace Lee Whitney, who is Yeoman Rand in the original series, but they bill her now as Commander Rand. She has a quick cameo when they're pulling the Enterprise back in the space dock. She's there kind of watching it pull in. You don't see her for very long, but she's there. So I think that's really neat to see those cameos. Also, to see Spock's mother, Jane Wyatt, played on Father Knows Best. Well, what perfect mother character to have. She was the classic caring mom. So I thought that was really neat that they pulled her in as Spock's mother. There's some really great characterizations, and like I mentioned earlier, the punk rocker on the bus, that was a fun character that was, played a very short appearance, but was still very funny, added to the humor of the situation. So there were some great characterizations. I don't think they were like caricatures. They weren't overblown, but they were played up. It was campy. It was fun. But overall, I thought the characterizations were done very well. We already are invested in these characters. We care about them. We already are rooting for them before the movie even starts. We want the Star Trek Enterprise crew to save the Earth and win. So we're already invested in that. But to see it with some fresh characters like Jillian and how the whole thing comes about, it's really fun to see that. So I can't think of anything else. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KFI PDS, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Billy. Excellent comments on characterization and all that. And I didn't know about the Go-Go's thing. They were well known back then in '86. So yeah, there were a lot of people that actually that inserted themselves into Star Trek productions through the years after the original series, and they've appeared in everything and anything since then. There's a huge fan following, and I did not know that, amongst other things. Thanks. Let's see. Next up, DJ Characterization AF5TX. Are you? And if you are, do you remember the characters? And what did you think about them? From KE5ICX.
W5FC.
I figured it was probably past his bedtime, but you have to ask. You never know. All right, KI5GRH. Melissa, are you still there? What did you think about characterization from KE5ICX?
Oh, boy. Well, I heard you call my call sign, and I don't remember the movie well enough. I remember it being a really good movie, though, and I remember enjoying it, but it's been so long since I've seen it. But I sure do love listening to you guys talking about it. I'm making a whole slide deck on radio, trying to teach radio communications to Dallas CERT. So fun listening to you in the background, though. So back to you, Tom. I'm still awake. And this is great. KF5GRH, back to you.
It's okay, Melissa. You're multitasking. But you know what? We can only monotask. We think we can multitask, but we really cannot. We're not built that way, but that's okay. But thank you so much for participating this evening, and I appreciate it. You have one more chance after this. You want to say anything about anything, you can. Next up is Michael, NT5V. By the way, everybody, we are now back on regular repeater time, so you may want to drop carrier from time to time in your diatribes. Michael, your thoughts on characterization, please, from KE5ICX.
Kilo 5, KG5 GIX. I'm Melissa. Why are you judging me?
It's all right. I won't get my feelings hurt too badly. Yes, I will. Actually, I'm not really sure what there is to say at this point, other than we're everything we expected and more. We've gotten to know all these characters for years, and then they added on a number of other ones that were amusing in small mostly, I don't know, like thinking about the rocker on the bus and all of those. It was just fun. I know you hate that, but I liked it. It was fun. And I don't have anything more in-depth analysis-wise for that. WT9V. WT9V.
Oh, fine. Go ahead and make a big deal about your call sign, WT5V, fine, 9V. Never mind. Whatever it is, in any case. Let's see, there was, I'm sorry, I get tired too, just like everybody else. There was K5GIX. I heard you come in there. You want to try one more time? Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu India X-Ray. I was just trying to get in touch with Melissa because I'm having trouble getting in touch with her. I really wanted to talk to her because she's a school friend of mine.
Okay, well, we're in a net. If you want to call her direct, I guess you can, and then we'll continue with the net. You want to give it a shot? Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
No, actually, I didn't realize y'all had a net going, so I'll stand by.
Okie dokie, well, we're almost done here, so if she hangs around, I'm sure she will. You can contact her direct. Okay, let me make my comments on characterization. I already made them. I'll make it short and sweet, and then we'll just open it up to anybody, any comments. The characters are fun. They are characterizations of themselves, really, because it is comedy. And so with long-established characters that are being serious, or with light moments, certain light moments in that actually work out well, and there's always been comedy in Star Trek and in all manifestations. But they're usually one-liners or quick comments. These had a tendency to be a little longer than that. If you dwell too long on the comedy part of it, you don't know, your characters then become kind of caricatures rather than actual characters. So you got to be very careful with that. And as I mentioned earlier, if you go too far, you can go too far. And as such, then it takes people out of the realm of believability. This actually kind of hits really close to that, but it does a good job. It's still probably out of the bunch of the films, I like this one. Although I have to admit, Star Trek 6 is pretty good, and I do like the original Star Trek: The Motion Picture. I know people hate that film, but I actually like it. So with that in mind, I think the film kind of rails on the bumper on how far you can go with characterization and not to compromise your characters in a way that is bad. So, yeah, there's always a danger and a gamble whenever you take something that is traditionally serious or in a drama and turn it into a comedy. You got to be very, very careful about that. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open it up. Any comments on anything you want, please come with your call sign now.
Inside BB.
K580.
W5EBB.
I got N5BB, K5ANE, W5EBB. Anyone else? We'll take in that order. N5BB. Bill, go ahead.
Okay, Tom, this is N5BB. The one part of the plot, special effects and everything, that kind of bothered me was the humongous spacecraft from some unknown place that came in that caused the plot to occur. It caused all the grief. And it looked like a huge cylinder, and then coming out of it, there was this globe that was rotating on a short stalk or something. And it appeared to me, if I think back early in the movie, that the globe nearly looked like a small planet or something. But late in the movie, it was had kind of a gray surface, kind of looked like the surface of a brain looks like if you take it out of the skull. Kind of fissures in it and things. And it was rotating. And I didn't see any comments or any other indications of what in the world that was, why it was acting that way. Everything about that vehicle, the spacecraft, and its effect on everything else seemed to be unexplained. And then at one point, they acted like it was vaporizing the oceans or something. I didn't understand why.
W5FC.
And for such an advanced society to be able to build that, or robots or whoever did, you'd think they had some way of communicating something. You'd think they would notice all these humans. I mean, they're passing past spacecraft and everything, and there's a lot of humans on the Earth. You would think they would notice them and try to communicate with them. But no, they're not really trying to do that. So, there were comments that they were trying to communicate with the whales, but it really wasn't obvious why that was. So I wish they'd spent just a little bit of time resolving that. Maybe at the end of the movie, maybe they had figured out why and where and etc. But they didn't. There was nothing there. So that, maybe it was cut out of the movie. Maybe it was too long. But I wish they'd included something. I was hungry for some more information about that. And as far as special effects go, they were okay. There was the normal Star Trek, James Kirk and everybody else shaking when the spacecraft couldn't maintain its attitude. That was normal. N5BB.
All right, thank you, Bill. I've got to respond to this, and I'll yield to the next person. But the idea is that, it's sort of like, ants. You look at ants, and they don't know who you are. You're this big, huge thing, and when you're a kid, you go and take the red ants and put them in the black ants' lair and do things. They have no idea you're actually there, not really. When they see you or sense you, you're just a big shadow. So I got that part. Also, you'll notice that this spacecraft that comes in looks like a whale. It's got the texture of, it's got that blowhole thing going on, and then whatever that beach ball thing was, I don't know what that was, but to me, it suggested that intelligences may have been here on Earth, and they moved off, but they were part of whales or something like that. I don't know. That part isn't known. I think that was kind of brilliant in a way. It kept it secret. The fact that landlubbers didn't matter. The sea life was more important because that's where the beginnings of life come from. So ignoring it actually wasn't all that unusual. and the fact that you're, and there's a little bit of that Vizier thing going on, is that you can't talk to the creator, you can't talk to the creatures that you want to talk to. You see this other stuff like they are ants. So that's my interpretation. It could be entirely wrong, but that's kind of how I viewed it when I saw it. I thought it was kind of brilliant. I like the idea of not entirely explaining things. It's left up to the audience to figure it out. Those type of stories are okay, as long as the story holds up. If it cheats the audience because you've run out of ideas, then not so much. I think it's okay. I think it's got that going on with it. Next up is K5ANE. Kane, go ahead. Your final comments. Go ahead.
I have to say that, when you're watching original mastering for TV and whatnot, it's a lot of really nice shots, not exactly the best quality, video and whatnot. And for all of these earlier Star Trek movies, it's quite they have brought into, full width, they were shooting on and what kind of lenses and setups. But it's really beautiful as far as just the overall prints themselves. They did an excellent job, and that's true with all of these earlier Star Trek movies. They did an excellent job with the cinematography and the framing of the shots and the quality of the film and lenses and whatnot. Just truly great work, and definitely stands in stark contrast to the of the television series, which I understand is a very different medium that they're going for. So, in the end, I just have to say this is yet another, pretty beautiful movie overall for the Star Trek universe. I am E&E, back to net.
All right, thank you, Kane. We're losing you a little bit, but I think I got the gist of it, and thank you for your comments. Next up, W5EBB, David, anything you want, go ahead, from KE5IC.
All right, thanks, Tom. Tom, you said the ants don't know you're there. Watch the 1974 movie Phase 4, or maybe it's Phase IV. Yeah, the ants know we're here. Well, back to Star Trek. The ultimate self-deprecating line, the movie poking fun at itself, was when McCoy said to Spock, "You really have gone where no man has gone before." So yeah, that's an example where they're right on that edge of making themselves too much of a caricature. Now, Scotty uses a Macintosh Plus to design transparent aluminum using only the keyboard since the mouse mic voice interface wasn't working. My recollection is you couldn't do anything on a Macintosh Plus without using the mouse. Now, on screen, the transparent aluminum molecule had 3 aluminum and 2 silver atoms. That may have rendered it too expensive to use for most applications, but the combination of paramagnetic and diamagnetic elements might have yielded some interesting properties. The music sounded very Christmassy, very unlike scores from other Star Trek movies. And I did check, and yes, this movie was released for the Christmas season on November 26, 1986. So maybe this was intended that the music sounds like it was written for a sleigh ride or Miracle on 33rd Street. W5EBB.
Okay, thank you, David. I think you're right. Yeah, well, it was Christmassy type music. I'm trying to think who wrote the music for this thing. It was a jazz type guy. Let me look. Well, it doesn't matter. Let's see. Anyone else have anything before I announce next week's movie? Please come down.
Okay, 5. JDW Mobile.
JDW John, mobile at 1219. Are you going back to your summer home up in Oklahoma? Please go ahead with your comments from KE5ICX.
No, thanks, Tom. Negative. I just got back to town from helping two kids move. I got double tagged or team tagged today. Tag team today? Anyway, yeah, I was tried to get in a couple times. I was too low. Couldn't make it. I was way over in north part of Frisco. I was going to say, I guess you probably beat it to death. One of my favorite parts of the movie was when, back in the days when people were kind of tired of boom boxes and he gives the guy the Spock pinch. I really liked that. Back to the characterization, I think you were kind of hitting on this. I knew a lot of those shows back then, they probably still do. They'd sit everybody around a table, give them a script. The stuff was basically written for them, but they'd say, here, adapt this to your own characters. And I'm guessing they did the same thing, and they did it really well. There were nothing less than what you expected, I guess. And I had one of the, I remember what it was. Anyway, just want to say hello. And I've been listening in. Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey.
W5FC.
Oh, I just remember what it was. Yeah, it's kind of nice to see them start to age finally. We've been watching them for 40 years, looking exactly like they did before. It's kind of nice to see them start to age finally. K5, JDW.
Hey, well, thank you, John, for checking in. And yeah, they do age, and even that's brought up in Star Trek 6. But a couple of things I wanted to say, and is this, and some of this I was just kind of researching. One of them is having to do with the rocker, the punk rocker. That is Kirk Thatcher, who is Margaret Thatcher's son or grandson, I forget which, probably, I don't know, I think son, had a band, and he actually wrote the song that he plays on the boombox, so he was in that. Another thing, I didn't know this until I looked at it tonight, the vroom, 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 that comes from the probe is actually, and this is, I don't know if this is true or not, I haven't done the thing, is supposed to be a processed voice, Leonard Nimoy's voice. They put him in a studio, had him do vroom, 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 like I'm doing right now, and then they changed it all up. So indeed, that is Leonard Nimoy that you hear. And then lastly, there is a section, I think I might have mentioned this earlier, there is a not PSK 31, but I think it's really thing going on, and it's some sort of contest, and somebody was able to isolate that stuff and be able to make it come out as a coherent signal out of the audio from the movie itself. All right, kids. Well, I'm going to call it. It's 12:22. This is one of the longer ones. It was a good movie. Now, everybody write this down. Next week's movie, if you are interested, is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade from 1989. Yes, I found open and free available. The link is there. If you go to Afterglow Movie on the Facebook page, I will send this out if you're on the list to the movie if you're not into the Facebook thing. If you would like this information sent to you through an email, you can send it to my call. Just send an email to me at my call sign, which is Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-Ray, KE5ICX@yahoo.com, and I'll put you on the list with everybody else, and I'll send you the links along the way. Let's see. Let me look and see what we have. We had 17 check-ins tonight. That's pretty good. We were very busy tonight on all the nets. Fantastic. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed this a lot. So we'll do this again next week. We'll probably have an opportunity, because it will be field day, for anybody who wants to break in during the middle of the net. If they just want to coordinate something. Otherwise, just use 442-425 for back channel comm. That should work as well. So 7-3, everybody. I had a great time this evening. I had a lot of fun, and we'll see you here next week. Have a happy field day. Let us know how you're doing as well. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear. Good night.
I stood by for a second in case someone wanted to say bye. Tom, you got another second? I'd love to ask you a question, and if it's too late, I can email you, but it's easier to talk.
Oh, I'm here. I haven't left. I haven't done anything. I haven't secured my station. Nothing. Go ahead.
Thanks. Since you know so much about this kind of stuff, remember the episode where they, use the Tabacron to go back in time? That a Tabacron, something like that. It makes a certain noise. I have actually heard that noise on HF, and I've been meaning to ask, to make good old HF people if they recognize that sound and know what it is. I have actually heard that sound the Tabacron makes on HF a long time ago when I used to, tune and listen a lot.
I've heard the sound. I don't recognize it or have linked it to amateur radio. I will tell you this, but Mr. A to Z, he was a librarian. So I did pick up on that.
I don't get that one. Run that by me again. Oh, he was actually in real life a librarian.
Right, exactly. He was a librarian. He prepared everybody and sent them back into time. Mr. Atos, A to Z.
Oh, I didn't know it was spelled that way. How cool. I should have paid more attention to the credits and stuff. Oh, well, yeah, I didn't say it was in the ham band, but it was on HF, because I used to listen a lot to the HF bands when I was younger, trying to, better and better wire antennas, that kind of thing. And I've actually heard that sound before. And I know probably some of these, old, old guys that have been around for a while, maybe Don or N5BB or somebody would know what that sound is.
I'm old, but I don't know what you're talking about. N5BB.
Thanks. You'd have to listen to it. You'd have to hear it on the show. I could kind of try to imitate it, but it wouldn't be the same.
Well, send me an email with a WAV file or something. I don't know. Do you know what sound he's talking about, Tom?
No, I don't. That's the problem. I don't remember. Although Mr. Atos was in Bread and Circuses, the gladiator thing. You were talking about Roman stuff, but I digress. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. The brain's clicking in on all the other stuff.
It's almost like some sideways kind of RTTY kind of sound. I could try to imitate it, but like I said, it wouldn't do it justice. And it's just, I actually recorded it. Well, actually, I was going to record it once. No, actually, I recorded the show, and I was going to record it off the show, and somebody got rid of it. And so I tried to find it on the internet, and I could not find it on the internet. I showed pictures of the Tabacron, but no sound.
I don't know. Since I don't know what it sounds like, I have no idea. There's many, many things you can hear on HF. There's slow scan TV. There's all kinds of digital modes, old and new. And there's other things like over-the-horizon radars that have weird sounds. So I don't know what sound you're talking about, so I don't know if I can respond. N5BB.
Yeah, the horizon radar, some of that stuff has kind of a picket fin sound or something, but I think someone may have doubled. Go ahead. Oh, well, I heard somebody in there. I'll try to get a recording and send it to everybody. Maybe I can find it on YouTube or something. You know, that show, that I couldn't find that season. The last time I tried, I couldn't find the season. I couldn't find it on the internet. I thought, darn, you know, I can't believe I can't find that sound. And I actually had it on the TV. I just didn't get time to record it before someone got rid of it.
W5FC.
Alrighty, gang, it's been a long day. I'm going to get in and take about 3 showers. It's been hot today. Anyway, good hearing y'all, and thanks for the movie. It is a fun movie. Anyway, 73 is Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey.
Good evening, John. See you later. K5J, but not tonight. K5JDW, inside BB clear.
Yeah, John, have a good evening. We're both shy because we stomped on each other, so we were allowing you to speak. All right, 7-3, have a good evening. See you later. Stay out of trouble. Bye-bye. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.